welcome back to Ushanka Show. So I just want to make an announcement. Today I acquired 10 cases. So this is deal. So it's files dating late 1940s. Like this one is dated 1942, so it's right during the World War II, Great Patriotic War, they called them in the Soviet Union. I had a person selling them on Facebook Marketplace, and I just stumbled upon, and we made a deal. I ended up purchasing them, spent $150. So if you feel generous, you can always tip to help me out. But anyways, 10 cases, as I said, most of them relates to NKVD cases. This one is for the Red Army soldier, Blinov Stepan, for his anti-Soviet conversations, which is not a good idea when you're in the military. So I'll be going through them case by case. I mean, that's a lot of information here, a lot of hard to decipher handwriting, but we'll just take a look at everything and see how the NKVD was doing their paperwork. Different documents, records of when they had conversations with this soldier. Like here, Lieutenant of State Security Sermanov was having a conversation, having doпрос, interrogation with Blinov Stepan Sergeyevich about occurrence. So yeah, a bunch of interesting information. I said there's a lot to go through. So as I said, yeah, I just want to show you what I got. This is interesting. I never seen this type of name on the file called наблюдательное дело. It's almost can be translated as a surveillance file. So this is interesting too. That's 1940, and it came from Estonia, Soviet Socialist Republic. So as you remember, Stalin occupied Baltic states, and right away. So there's a lot of files. Some of them actually nicely typed, so they'll be easy to decipher. Like there's also standard forms. Amazing stuff. That's all I can say. So yeah, there's a lot to go through. So this is the second department of the People's Commissariat of State Security of the Estonian Republic. Another one, Dela. So 1962, it's like the case was closed and filed away. So there's the whole list, standard form. So this is the list of everything, what was done against this person. Here it's interesting. So this, he had, apparently had some kind of fascist leaflets. Hope they're in here. So they got confiscated. So this is also 1942, so that's another soldier. So he, while being a Red Army soldier, he was storing and spreading fascist leaflets aimed against Soviet government. And he was taking clothing off the dead Red Army soldiers. So as I said, really interesting stuff. I'm hoping I'll be able to find relatives that they're still alive. So it's hard to say anything right now, but it's famous Article 58, which is I need to make a video. That's pretty much, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people got arrested and sentenced in that article. Another person. So there's just tons and tons of stuff. I never had a chance to put my hands on it, so now, before I just saw pictures. Now we got, he said he purchased that on eBay quite a few years ago. Just makes you wonder how they end up in America. This is Lady Kulikova Antonina. Once again, Estonia file. So this is standard opis, so that's the list, like a contents description of what's in the file, and just on and on and on. So yeah, so total is 10 documents. Another наблюдательное дело. It's also Estonia. This one is neat because they actually had this is her labor union document, was in an envelope. Picture is missing. Now this is early 1940s labor union with the due stamps. It's pretty neat. Now this lady, I said I'll go more in details, but I kind of read really quick. She was recruited as the, I don't call spy, but she was a secret agent of the state security, and she told people, so she exposed herself, the people she's supposed to watch over and collect information on, that she actually admitted to them that she's an agent, and she got arrested and went to labor camp for 3 years. This one I'm not sure what it is. Something from Tallinn, but most of it in that language, so I cannot figure out what it is. But so we got some from Russia, some from Estonia. So this is a raspiska. So that's when you take over an arrested person, you sign this document that yes, I'm in charge of this person right now. And this is an old file. So this looks like from 1905. So this pre-revolution. It's a Minsk, so it's a form Belarus. And it's some shoemaker got arrested. So that'll be interesting. Here we got a really good description. Обвинительный акт, so it's a final, I don't know how to translate in English. So that's what they describe the crime in detail. So it's it just blows my mind. Honestly, I gotta be more careful with this stuff. It's so old. But yeah, different documents here from Minsk. Yeah, see, like it comes apart. Yeah, I need to get better skills. Sorry, filming with one hand. And another наблюдательное дело. Got those old-fashioned paper clips. There's the town of Tartu, again Estonia. So during the German occupation, he was a member of military fascist organization Amakaitse, had a rifle, and he was helping arresting Soviet citizens. So then he got arrested when the Soviets came back. His personal documents and everything else. So there's quite a mixture of everything. And this one is interesting. So it's also, this is Sverdlovsk region, so this is Russia, NKVD, and this is the whole list of people. So usually it's individually, each file is for one person. Here we have a total of 9 people that went under same file, and it's a spravka for, not sure by what, but it says names of people that actually mentioned this file, and it's dated 19, so their files went in 1957, they got transferred, but see all these people, they got separate files. Oh yeah, I started reading this a little bit. So the guy got arrested because he was a successful businessman before Soviet Union occupied Baltic states. So based on that, he broke the Soviet law and he got arrested. So how about that? He had a factory, so typography. So he was a printing press, and he had an annual income of 3,500 crowns, and based on that, because he was a rich private capitalist, And when the Soviets came, they arrested him because he broke the Soviet law of being capitalist. How about that? And it's just so this guy, 1941 in June, so literally 8 days before Germans attacked Soviet Union, he was arrested and sent to the camp Sev Ural Lag. So he went to Ural Mountains labor camp. So they managed to get him before Germany came. This is the lady. Oh, during from 1934 to 1941, so during capitalist Estonia, she was a prostitute, and it's against the Soviet law. So she got arrested. This is amazing. It just blows my mind. So they are, because there were bad people during Estonia before Soviet Union, according to the Soviet laws, they broke the law. So this is like all those people in the front. And usually it looks like they got 3 years in labor camps. So I said I'll be taking pictures, scanning everything. We'll go into details, but just want to show you what I acquired. It's quite astounding. NKVD USSR, First Special Department in Sverdlovsky region. Amazing. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction of what's coming up soon, and have a good night. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Ushanka Show, stories about life in the Soviet Union. And today we're going to explore one of the not pretty sides of the life in the Soviet Union, being under investigation by Народный комиссариат государственной безопасности. So it's a People's Commissariat of State Security. So NKVD is внутренняя безопасность, is inside security. Now it's a state security, so slightly renamed. So as I promised, we're going to look through the files that I purchased recently. And just a reminder, I spent $150 on these files. So if anyone is willing to help, you can tip. There's a little heart with a $sign below this video. But anyways, we'll start with this one. It came from USSR, so that's Estonskaya Sovetskaya Socialistic Respublika, Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. Dates are, it was started this investigation on May 12, 1948, and it was concluded on July 16, so in 2 months it was all done. It's called Следственное дело, so that's investigation file number 9902. And the person was Kulikova Antonina Petrovna. So it's a female. Antonina is her first name, Kulikova last name, and her father's name was Pyotr. And what's interesting, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's Article 121 of Criminal Code of Russian Federation. So a lady is in Estonia, but she got in trouble according to the Article 121 of Criminal Case of Russian Federation. So that's already pretty strange. And I looked up Article 121. That's another weird thing. It's basically homosexual article. So if you get caught having homosexual intercourse, that was Article 121 at those years. So I'm not sure why, but if anyone have any ideas, they'll be appreciated. And as you see, it was numbers were changed. So it was refiled several years. Last time it says it was verified in 1962. So this is what we got going on. And just, I want to apologize. I never done videos like this, but I got gloves, so we're good there. So let's go. Okay, so we're opening cover. There's nothing inside. It's just using that's how all the pages were connected together. And we get to the first page. So this is so-called opis. So that's the list of all the items, all the documents that inside of this file. So there's an order of beginning of this criminal case. Number 2, it's an order about arresting the person. Number 3, it's an order about if she can go home and wait, or she has to be remain in prison. This is arrest order number 4. And then personal data of arrested person, анкета. Results, so протокол личного обыска. So when they search your apartment or your house, they have to make a list of all the items that they discovered. So it's number 7. Oh, so that's a personal. So what was found on her body, in her clothes. Number 7, it's what was found in her apartment. Then we got a copy, trying to figure out this handwriting. Копия акта об аресте. So it's a copy of her act of being arrested. And then some квитанция, so some kind of reference paper, number 706. And then she was, after she was detained, she was interrogated. So there's the list of the protocols, so her interrogations. So she was interrogated several times. May 11, May 14, looks like May 16. Then we got number 13. Oh boy, I'm having a hard time reading this. Okay, so this is number 16. It says it tells you what kind of they tell the person it's a protocol. Let's see, заявление обвинения. So they tell her what you're guilty of. What's what we're thinking you're guilty of. It's number 17. No, it's number 13. I apologize. I'm trying to look through the phone, but it doesn't work, so I gotta look above. She got again. Looks like she got interrogated a couple more times in May of 26. Then the next interrogation almost took a month. So on the June 22, 1948, was another interrogation. So they have an investigation going on. Then they call her again. Then she got number 16 is kind of like a insert. Anyways, a part of her interrogation, I guess they took the best parts and they wrote it down. Oh, no, never mind. It's a different person. So now they get in other people involved. So number 16, that's somebody named Menace. So on July, July 7, they already talking to some other person. On July 8, another person, and the same person. Okay, so that's 2 people had the same last name. So they interrogated somebody last name August or something like that. We'll see later on July 8, and then they interrogated another person with the same last name, so maybe husband and wife or mother and daughter. And then number 19, they interrogated another person on July 12. So as you see, they were digging. There's a copy of some letter, and then there's a decision was made. Then there's a spravka. That's a popular Soviet word, spravka. So it's the paper reference to something from the prison. So that's when probably they say, yeah, we took this person. Then there's another расписка. So they confirm, yeah, we got her, I guess. Протокол об окончании следствия. That's the record of finishing the investigation. Medical, another spravka. So that's the medical document that claims that she was healthy. I looked ahead already. Обвинительное заключение. So that's the final verdict. And a couple more spravki. So this is what опись документов. That's how much it took to convict this person in her criminal activity. Okay, so let's go to the page 2. There's nothing on this side, so it's a 2-sided page about contents. Постановление о принятии дела к производству. So that's pretty much order to begin investigation. So opening the case. May 8th. In Tallinn, so that's the capital of Estonia. As I said, it's confirmation. And it's a standard form. It says me, я, начальник отдела следственного отдела MGB SSSR майор Udalov, looks like. So it's a major, last name Udalov. So he looked at the materials according to against this lady Kulikova Antonina, which was arrested on May 12, 1948, in her crimes that covered by the Article 121 of Russian Federation criminal case. And I discovered that we need to investigate further into this matter according to the Article 110, once again over the Russian Federation procedures, and I ordered постановил. So we need to get going on this case, 9902. So this is pretty much initial start of the whole procedure. So someone can already open the case, brought him, and he says, yes, I agree, Major Udalov. I hope we can find some information on him. So he said, yes, I agree. We need to get this thing going. All right, so let's take, so you see they mark them like this is actual page 1. So that was a title page. Now let's look at the page 2. This one is a little bit hard to read. I'll try to scan or take pictures and play a little bit with colors to make it more readable. But this is actually постановление на арест, so that's an arrest order. That's the most scariest piece of paper you can encounter in the Soviet Union. So it's all official stamps. This one is actually, looks like both languages, Russian and Estonian. And it's approved in Tallinn. So after looking at the постановление, I made a decision that Kulikova Antonina, born in 1921, and she originally from Kazan, that's the Tatarskaya Автономная Республика, so it's a Tatar Autonomous Republic. She was Russian, so by nationality is Russian, citizen of Soviet Union. Беспартийная, so they always mention that you're party member or not. So no, she wasn't a party member, and she worked as in the lab of the main hospital, SBF. I'm not sure what SBF stands for, so there was a hospital in Tallinn. Maybe it's Baltijski Flot, maybe it's a Baltic Fleet. So she worked as a lab assistant in the lab of the main hospital of Baltic Fleet, it looks like, in Tallinn. And I was located on Street Weisenberg 12-2. And he discovered or determined, нашел, that Kulikova Antonina, being a secret сотрудник органов государственного, so she was a secret agent of the state security, she встала на путь предательства, so she became a traitor, she stepped on the road of betrayal. И двурушничество, that's an interesting Russian word. It's kind of like old-fashioned. So it's like you deal with two hands, so one hand doesn't know what other hand is doing. So she was doing secret work while also doing criminal work against the government. So government forced her pretty much to be a secret agent, and she was doing it along with other things. And then she умышленно расшифровала себя. This is an interesting expression again. I never met that before. So purposely she decoded herself. So she told someone like, hey, I'm a secret agent to the people that were doing anti-Soviet activities. So she was actually sent to spy on those guys. and she told them like, hey, I'm an agent and you probably should watch your mouth. So that's, and for that crime, it was decided to arrest her and search her. And I was confirmed by these people. One last name is Karmilin, lieutenant of MGB, Министерство государственной безопасности, Ministry of State Security, and полковник Mizin. So it's another guy. So this is what her crime. She was forced probably to be an informant. And she told people, hey, I'm an informant, so you better watch out. So this is interesting beginning. So that's page 2. All right, so that was page number 2. Let's move to page number 3. So this is arrest order. And page number 3 kind of looks similar. Это постановление об избрании меры пресечения. So this is decision what we can do with arrested persons. So she can be arrested, and then she will sign, for example, a promise to stay in a city, right? Подписка не выйти, so I'm not going to leave the city. But it's, of course, up to MGB, not up to her. So this says that once again, Tallinn, May 12 at 1800. So first, there's interesting, says, arrest санкционируется. So arrest is approved by a major of Justitia. And this is the minister of Estonian state security approved the approval. But here's the decision what to do. And it says, I, старший уполномоченный отделение MGB Lieutenant Karmilitsin, another person to look up. So he, a lieutenant of MGB, and he, once again, it's all her data. That right here, once again, that she worked at the hospital in Tallinn, originally from Kazan, Russian. I discovered that she достаточно изобличается в совершенном преступлении. So she is sufficiently proven to do this criminal activity, according to the Article 121 of Russian Federation, and considering the fact that while being out on the street на свободе, she can dodge the investigation and the court. So using Articles 145 and 158, once again, of Russian Federation, I'm ordering, постановил, to choose, basically to her to, let's see, отношения. So she needs to находиться под стражей. So she needs to stay in jail. She should be arrested and remain in jail during this investigation. So, and a copy of this order should be attached to her criminal case. This is his signature, Karmilitsin, lieutenant. It was approved by подполковник Colonel Mizin. So you see, it's Estonian Republic in all the Russian last names. So MGB of Estonia is being run by Russians. Karmilitsin, Mizin, and here this is the per person she wrote by hand. So настоящее постановление MGB. So I got informed of this постановление of this order, May 12, 1948, and it's her. This is Antonina Kulikova signature. So she's like, yeah, I agree. Not say I agree, but like, yes, I was informed that I will be arrested and remain in jail while my investigation is going on. Poor girl. So this is page 3. Now, she was born 1921. This is 1948. So she, 27-year-old. All right, we're moving to page number 4. There's another official form. So once again, Эстонская Советская Социалистическая Республика, But all the documents is in Russian, so it's Estonian Republic, Ministry of State Security, Министерство государственной безопасности, order number 503. It's given to the сотруднику, so given to the person who works for MGB, Lieutenant Karmilitsin. So he needs to arrest and search Kulikova Antonina Petrovna, and that she lived in Tallinn, Ulica Street, Weizenberg Street, 12-2. And it's sanctioned, so as you see, they show it's all legit. Got Minister of State Security of Estonia signed that. His department, can't tell the number which department, but this is says Department of MGB. So as you see, it's like a arrest factory. It's all done, I could say almost officially. Actually, I missed one part. So this is a back page of the page 4. So this is a copy. Now this is, I guess it's called Estonian language. So they wrote that, filled it up also. So it's a dual language paperwork. Front page is in Russian. Back page is in Estonian language. So it's a nice touch. Okay, and now we're at the page number 5. Anketa arestovanного. So that's the personal data of arrested person, like a questionnaire. And it's an interesting part. It says it's forbidden to give this paper to actual arrested person. It should be filled by a person who arrested using words. So you ask questions and you fill it and you verify it with the document. So this is not filled by Antonina. It's filled by officer that arrested her. So last name Kulikova, имя отчество Antonina Petrovna, born 1921, which you already know that. Kazan, so that's the name of the city. And they didn't fill all the way because it's a Tatarskaya Автономная Республика, but they just put USSR, Autonomous Soviet Republic, but didn't mention which one. Her address, profession, she's a laboratory helper, laborantka. Place of work, once again, it's the Central Hospital of, I guess, Baltic Fleet in Tallinn. Once again, what she worked. So this is the official form. Let's see if anything on the back page of this document. Oh yeah. So we keep on going here. Nationality, Russian. Citizenship, Soviet Union, but there's no documents about her. Number of a passport. Then party membership, BP, беспартийная, the standard Soviet abbreviation. Education, 9 classes, so it's like a basic. I think at that time was 11 years in school, so she did 9. Social происхождение, so it's where she socially from peasants, is крестьян. Previous troubles with law, so судимости, if she ever been, again, it says no, she wasn't, never, it's her first time to be arrested and sentenced. And once again says if she ever was arrested, for what reasons. Her father, Kulikov Pyotr, died in 1921, so that's her family, page 6. Her mother, Kulikova Alexandra, died in 1927. Man, they died young. Like she was born, what did it say? So she was born in 1921, and that's when her father died, and her mom passed away 6 years later, so poor thing had no parents. This is the question about the wife and children, so she had no children, no husband, wife or husband. And here about brothers and relatives, so brothers and sisters. So she had one brother, Filipov Konstantin, born in 1918. Not sure why he has a lot different last name, Filipov. She's not sure where he was born. And he's still in Kazan, so what place she came from. And then she had sister, Borodina Nadezhda Petrovna. So Borodina, so she married, she took her husband's last name, born in 1915. And she also lives currently in Kazan. For the state bank, oh my goodness, she probably got in trouble after her sister got arrested. And this is the picture of our lady, Kulikova Antonina. Poor girl. And pointing fingerprint of the right hand. And her signature. Man, this is depressing. Alright, so I just flipped the page. We're still working on a 6. And this is interesting. It deserves, I gotta take a picture. I don't want to go through it right now, but it's called Словесный портрет. So it's the description of the person in the words. So describe how he looks. So you're supposed to circle or something, but anyways, they didn't do anything. So you need to describe their height, their shoulders, color of hair, forehead, brows, nose, mouth, lips, chin, ears. And it gives you example what kind of description. I gotta take separate pictures. This is actually quite fascinating. Any special markings, any special about person appearance? No. Any tattoos? No. Then it says основание для ареста, why the person was arrested. It's because there was an order. And location. So it was done by MGB, Ministry of State Security in Tallinn. And the person, so Sergeant, another person here, that's the one who was arresting. And then on the bottom here is basically, nothing was filled, but it's about pictures and even, I'm not sure what Dacta Carta is, but anyway, so this is her personal information anketa. Okay, page number 7, so that's a small document called Protocol личного обыска. So that's the personal search, kind of like a report. So it was done in jail. So she got arrested, brought to jail and searched on May 12, 1948. They performed search of this person and they discovered, I'm not sure what is the first item. It's something damskie, so something female. Almost look like a резинки, like a female rubber bands, maybe hairband, one piece, and 3 different keys. So this is the only thing she had on her. Nothing else. So this is another standard form, Protocol личного обыска. Okay, and the next page, there'll be a document about searching her apartment. So it's a protocol. And it says the people that performed the search, Captain Zimkin and Junior Lieutenant Kul. First time I see something, last name sounds like Estonian. So they searched apartment according to the order, and she had a witness who was the owner of the apartment. So she was renting a room, I guess. So of course, they always require witnesses like понятые. So there will be a couple of people that were there while an apartment will be searched. And there's the list of items that they found and confiscated or took. And it's pretty much Soviet passport on her name, her labor union ticket, her savings book, so whether she kept money in the bank. She had 50 rubles and 8 kopecks. It's not a lot of money in 1948, hardly any. Then they found Bible. That's when she got in trouble, I think, which was published in Berlin in 1922. Let's see. Then they found 5 books. 5 books with different religious words. Can do that. So basically they found a lot of religious literature on her. Books. So all the religious books actually. Let's see what else we got here. So there's no complaints about the search. They didn't seal the room. They made the list. And there's a note. It says they found a bunch of religious items like books and stuff. And this is the signature of the people who did the search and the witnesses. So that's page number 8. Looking at page number 9, it says it's a copy. So it's the act, so it's a note from the people who performed the search. It's pretty neat handwriting. So May 13. So that's Captain Vyazankin and Junior Lieutenant Kul, that we wrote the statement that we didn't make a list of items that belong to this lady because she didn't own anything. So like chairs, furniture, whatever, she didn't own anything. And we didn't seal her apartment, her living area, because she didn't have any. So she said she basically was renting, she was living in the same room as the owners. Says this apartment belongs to citizen Shalyapin, which with his family occupies one room, and they were renting part of the room to this lady. So this is why they didn't seal the room. And it doesn't say apartment, it says a room. So it probably sounds like a communal apartment. So you have some rich people before revolution or before occupation of Estonia lived in a nice large apartment. Now it got subdivided, so each room has a family and they share a kitchen and a bathroom. And this family was renting part of the room to this lady. So that says, it's going to be interesting to find this building if it still exists. So it's a Weizenberg number 12, apartment number 1. So this is what location. So this poor lady literally had nothing. So that's page number 9. Why we didn't find any items that belonged to her, and why we didn't sealed her apartment, because she had no apartment. Document number 10, it's called kvitanция, so it's like I can't know how to translate it, so it's kind of like confirmation number 706 from AFFO. Have no idea what that means. Something financial, probably department, because it says that she had 94 rubles and 90 kopecks. And that's what they took from her, and they signed the paper like, hey, this is the money we found on this person. And she had another 50 rubles on savings accounts. So definitely not much money at all. So that's document number 10, kvitanция. Okay, I think this is a good spot to stop, and we'll continue in my next video going through this criminal case. Next part is actually protocol допроса, so that's the interrogation. That's when she was answering all the questions from the MGB. Well, I hope you, I don't know, you can say enjoyed this video, but definitely we're all learning something new. I feel sorry for this poor lady. Kulikova Antonina, I hope she survived, because she ended up going to the labor camp for her crime. This is what happens when you live in Estonia, but you're still under the Russian law, Russian Federation. And I'm thinking my grandpa, who also went to labor camp for being POW in Germany. I have a video about that. I'll provide link below in the comment section. All right, well, thank you for watching Ushanka Show, and part 2 is coming soon. До свидания, goodbye. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. I'm your host, Sergei Sputnikov, the guy with the sexy accent so many of you fell in love with. Today's video is part 2 of the review of 1948 NKVD investigation file for Antonina Kulikova, which was done in Tallinn, Soviet Estonia. If you missed part 1, I will provide the link to that video in the comment section below. But before we begin, I would like to make a couple of comments because there were some questions from the first video, so we're going to look at those first. First of all, we need to talk about Article 121 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation. I had several people helping me out. So Article 121 is actually unauthorized disclosure of the state secrets or classified information. So Antonina Kulikova was sentenced according to that Article 121 from 1926. And it looks like later, with the new criminal code, numbers were changed and Article 121 was covering homosexual relations and punishment for being a homosexual in the Soviet Union. So Antonina Kulikova was indicted according to the Article 121 for disclosing of classified information. Being a secret agent of the state security, she got engaged in double dealing. So there's an interesting Russian word, dvorushnichestvo. 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 It's kind of like an old-fashioned Russian word that means double dealing or double crossing. So when you do something with one hand and you do total opposite thing with the other hand. But usually double dealing, in my understanding, means that you're trying to profit from both directions. So you're profiting as being a secret agent, and you're profiting while you're working with these anti-Soviet elements, as they call them. But in this case, I believe Antonina Kulikova was forced to work as a secret agent, and she just told the people because she didn't want to get them in trouble, so she didn't get any profit out of this double dealing. And my thinking is that because she spent some time on the occupied territories, then she may got herself into so-called filtration camp, just like my grandfather Sergei. And she probably had a choice, or cooperate with authorities or get sent to the labor camp for being traitor of the country. And another small detail I would like to point out, that she was already 27-year-old in 1948. She was born in 1921. And it's kind of unusual for a Russian woman to be single and have no kids at the age of 27. This is what we call staraya deva, like old maiden. So I'm not sure, of course, war and all those problems, but still it's quite unusual at the age of 27 still being single. Interestingly enough, that Weisenberg Street still exists in modern Tallinn. I looked it up, and I think a couple of viewers mentioned it too. So you could see on Google Maps that street, Weisenberg Street, number 12, and it definitely looks like an older home built before 1917 revolution, and it's still standing. You could see the number on the building. And I looked it up, and God bless Google, August Weisenberg was a famous Estonian sculptor. So that name was kind of neutral even for the Soviet times. So they never bothered to rename it to Lenin Street or Stalin Street or anything like that. Okay, and now let's go back to investigation file of Antonina Kulikova. Okay, moving along, page 11. So this is the first document that actually Estonian language is first and Russian is next. Once again, Ministry of State Security of Estonia, Soviet Socialist Republic. Protocol допроса. That's the scariest document. So that's actually notes of her interrogation. So it was done at 9:30 at night, 21:30. And it was finished, oh my goodness, So they started at 21:30 on May 11, and they finished at 1:10 next day. So she was interrogated. I'm not sure if it was non-stop or with breaks, but this is what the data says. So once again, her name, Kulikova Antonina Petrovna, when she was born, where she was born, where she lived, Russian, citizen of Soviet Union, member of the Communist VLKSM, so it's a young communist organization since 1938 until September 15, 1941. She got a school degree, just a high school with pedagogichskaya, so she was like learning to be a teacher. Didn't have a passport on her, they found it in her place. She was working once again at, Baltijski Flot, okay, so that's confirmed. So she worked at the hospital, main hospital of the Northern Baltic Fleet. Okay, so at least I got that, and she is, that's another question, look at that. Social, again, происхождение, откуда, where she came from. She's from the poor peasants. So that you don't want to be found that you, and after it is questions, what did you do before revolution and what did you do after revolution? So after revolution, she was like a servant, служащая, well, like just worker. Not a work at the factory, but okay. Questions about her family. It's hard to read the handwriting. So that's just about her relatives that remain in Kazan behind and where they work. And then once again, any criminal whatever record before revolution, after revolution. So there's two different lives people had before revolution, after revolution. And Soviet government, Soviet security wanted to know about both. Then any awards. Number 16 is any military records. I'm just holding pages with this rock so it doesn't flip on me. So she didn't participate in any war. Oh, that's an awesome question. Did she serve in White Army or any other armies? So like, oh my goodness. This is 1948. There's still questions about Civil War of 1919-1922. Did you also participate in any gangs like Bandy, like Makhno Bandy, or any uprisings, any political activities? So yeah, a lot of interesting questions they ask. Okay, part 2, page 12. She's been warned that if you refuse to give information or if you lie, you will get in trouble according to the articles of 92 and 95 of criminal case of Russia, once again, Russian Federation. So she signed that, yes, I'm aware that I shouldn't lie or shouldn't hide. So then first question starts, what languages can you speak? And she replied, I can speak only Russian and nothing else. So she lives in Estonia, but she speaks only Russian. Question, where do you live and what did you do during the Great Patriotic War of 1941-1945? And she replied, before attack of fascist Germany on the Soviet Union, I lived in Vyborg. And I worked as the буфетчица в столовой. So she worked in a cafeteria. So there was some military repair facility that had a cafeteria, and she worked there, буфетчица. So she was selling food items. Then, in August 23rd, 1941, because the front was moving, she evacuated from Vyborg using a ship, a steamship from Vyborg to Leningrad. So she managed to evacuate from Vyborg and she made it. So there's like a long story of all her war adventures. And then they landed. So she was with the family of her sister, but they didn't make it to Leningrad. I think there's some town or village, Ligova. Then when they stayed, but Germans cut them off from Leningrad, so she remained on the territory occupied by Germany. So this is her signature. So that's her story during the war. Okay, so this concludes the part 2 of my review of 1948 investigation file for Antonina Kulikova. Thank you for watching Ushanka Show. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи! В эфире программа Ushanka Show. Today's video is a part 3 of the review of следственное дело Kulikovой Antonины. So, criminal case of Antonina Kulikova from 1948. And we need to return back to the page 1, which is постановление о принятии делу к производству. So that's the order to start processing this criminal case, because there's a small tiny detail that I missed, and that small detail is actually a big deal. If we look at the bottom of the page 1, where the signature is of the Major Udalov who ordered to start this criminal case, he made couple small corrections, and this is really important. So initial title was Следователь следодела NKGB SSSR. So investigator of the investigation department of NKGB SSSR. So this is Народный комиссариат государственной безопасности Эстонской Советской Социалистической Республики. So Major Udalov made a correction that he wasn't just their investigator, следователь, he was начальник отдела, so he was department's manager. And his second correction, and that's what actually caught my attention, he corrected that it's not NKGB anymore, it's apparently MGB. Министерство государственной безопасности. So I looked it up, and sure enough, back in March 22nd, 1946, so 2 years prior, NKGB was renamed into MGB. So it's not commissariat anymore, it's ministry now, министерство. So this criminal case is actually kind of like a wild mix of old style and new style paperwork, because even the cover says still Народный комиссариат государственной безопасности, НКГБ, and some paperwork inside call it already Министерство государственной безопасности, MGB. And I don't know if this lady actually had a good lawyer. Was it possible for her to defend herself? Because, you know, I'm not sure which organization is actually charging me with the crime. Is it NKGB or MGB? I don't know, but it's definitely they didn't care. They just utilized all paperwork, and then they had some new one. But it's only in this spot on page 1 that Major Udalov bothered to correct that he is not NKGB, he is actually MGB. So why was it a big deal? In 1948, still during the Stalin era, Soviet government finally abandoned its revolutionary terminology and accepted old-fashioned terminology. So commissariat became ministry. Министерство. So after October Revolution of 1917, the Soviet government, so that's Vladimir Lenin and company, made the decision to get rid of all the old-fashioned capitalist terminology. So they won't have ministers, they won't have officers in the army, and so on. So the word commissariat and commissar was, I could say, invented or borrowed from French. So for a while, we didn't have ministers in the Soviet Union. We had commissars. There was a commissar of heavy industry, commissar of foreign relations, and so on. There was no ministries and no ministers. Similarly, there were no officers in Red Army. They just called them командиры, commanders. So if you command a battalion, you're комбат, commander of battalion. If you command army, you командарм, commander of army. Similarly, brigade, комбриг. So that was just like a title with no actual officer. There was no majors or colonels, nothing like that, no generals, just commanders. And only in 1935, Red Army reintroduced officers' titles, so they got lieutenants, senior lieutenants, captains, majors, and so on, but still they had комбриги and комдивы and командармы. no generals. And on May 7, 1940, в целях поднятия авторитета высшего командного состава, so in order to raise the authority of higher command, the general title was introduced. So it took Soviet Union, the very first socialist state, about 30 years to do complete circle and return back to have their own generals and their own ministers. And we also need to talk about NKGB. It's very, very important. So Народный комиссариат государственной безопасности, People's Commissariat of State Security. But most people are familiar with NKVD, Народный комиссариат внутренних дел. So that's a People's Commissariat of Inner Affairs. So suddenly we have two different organizations. Both are commissariats, one of state security and another one of inner affairs. So what's the difference? Well, NKGB is actually a baby brother of NKVD, and it has a quite interesting history. And I said baby brother because originally there was only one NKVD, but in February of 1941, about 5 months before Hitler attacked Soviet Union, NKVD was split in two organizations, NKVD and NKGB. So now we have Commissariat for State Security and Commissariat for Inner Affairs. What's quite curious is that Soviet sources as well as the modern Russian sources are very silent about the reasons why that split occurred. I mean, Stalin needed suddenly two organizations in February of 1941. But what is even more interesting, NKGB existed as a separate commissariat for hardly 6 months. In July of 1941, so after Hitler attacked Soviet Union on June 22nd, suddenly there was no reason anymore to keep two organizations, and NKGB disappeared. It remained only NKVD. So whatever the reason in February 1941 existed, in July 1941 there was no more reason to keep NKGB separately. But then guess what? In April of 1943, NKGB, just like Phoenix, rised again, and NKVD was split in two organizations once again. So they did it in February of 1941, canceled that decision in July of 1941, and suddenly 2 years later, in April of 1943, Stalin decided he needs again NKGB and NKVD. But I found an explanation why NKGB, like a phoenix from ashes, reappeared in April of 1943. And out of all the places, the explanation was right in the open on official Russian site Historia.rf, and it says that in 2 years after Red Army began its unstoppable movement westward, there was a question who would provide state security on the deoccupied territories of the Soviet Union as well as Eastern European countries. Which begs one simple question. If you guys recreated NKGB in April of 1943 with the sole purpose of providing security on the newly deoccupied Soviet territories as well as the Eastern European countries, was that the same reason you created NKGB back in February 1941, but someone, Hitler crushed your plans, and then you had to cancel those plans in July of 1941 and take apart NKGB for a while. Okay, my friends, it's all I have for you today. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. What do you think about why Stalin created NKGB in February of 1941, disassembled it in July 1941, then recreated again in April 1943? I'm very curious, and we'll talk to you soon. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. In today's video, we continue our review of the criminal case number 9902 for Kulikova Antonina Petrovna, who was sentenced on the Article 121 of Criminal Code of Russian Soviet Federation. Article 121 is pretty much telling other people state secrets or providing information that you were not allowed to. She was a secret informant of the MGB, Ministry of State Security, although as we discussed earlier, in a document, it's actually called Народный комиссариат государственной безопасности, so the folder still from the old company, we could say, People's Commissariat of State Security, but we already have a Ministry of State Security in 1948. But before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who helped me to cover my expenses in purchasing these MGB files. I spent $150, and quite a few of my viewers generously helped me with this purchase. You can also support my work by using that little heart with the dollar sign, a so-called super thank, or also you can use PayPal. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support. And now let's go back to the files. This criminal case was started on May 12, 1948, and was finished pretty quick in July 16, 1948. So in 2 months, pretty much it started from her arrest, interrogations, and to her sentencing. And it's a pretty small case because it just says it's only one issue in one volume. So some of them probably had longer. So that's what we're looking at. And this is video number 3. If for any chance you missed my previous 2 videos, I'll post the link below in the comment section. And this is her mug shots. So it looks like they didn't hold anything in front of them. It just was added later. So that's her name again, Kulikova, her fingerprints. And I need to look it up right now to see the distance between Kazan, that's the place of her birth, where she used to live in the Kazan region, and she ended up in Vyborg, which is north, I believe, of Leningrad, St. Petersburg. And during World War II, during German occupation, this is how they end up going from Vyborg to Tallinn, the capital of Estonian. At that time Estonia, but then Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic again. Okay, so I just checked on Google Maps, and the distance between Kazan, Russia, and Vyborg, which located on the border with Finland, is about 1,000 miles. So obviously this lady moved not on her own. She was a part of the government program of repopulating territories. So since Vyborg got occupied by Red Army, many Finnish people left, so they had empty town. So they were encouraging Soviet citizens to move to Vyborg, and she was one of those people. Okay, and now we return to her protocol doprosa. So that's the record of her interrogation, which began on May 11th, 1948 at 9:30 p.m. and continued to the next day, and was finished on May 12th at 13:10, which is 1:10 p.m. So for 2 days she had this interrogation, and this is where we stopped in my previous video. But before we begin, I would like to point out some little detail that I missed last time. So in the top left corner there's a printed words, says «Показания обвиняемого», so that's information that accused was given, but someone changed обвиняемого to свидетеля, so it says, so it's the witness information. So she's going, this interrogation, they're looking at her as a witness, not person that being accused of crime. So this is really interesting. She still got sentenced, but her interrogation, she was a witness. So they were gathering information on other people, and Kulikova was here as a witness, свидетель. Alright, so back to Kulikova's interrogation. I believe we stopped somewhere here. So there's a question about where did you live during the Great Patriotic War of 1941-1945. And they know all this information, because if she was their secret informant, I bet you all that information was already collected from her. But they go through all these motions, asking her questions, and she replies that before a Nazi Germany attack on the Soviet Union, it's quite official terminology here. I lived in the town of Vyborg, and I worked at the buffet of the military repair facility on August 23rd, 1941. Due to the front approaching Vyborg, I moved out towards Leningrad together with my relatives of my sister's husband. So they boarded the steamship, but they didn't make it to Leningrad. Leningrad never got occupied, but they never made it to Leningrad, and they stayed on occupied territory in Leningradskaya region. So that was how she ended up being in German hands, we'll say it. And it was a black mark for many people for many years after the end of the World War II, or Great Patriotic War, because every paperwork you file, there'll be a question: did you ever live on the occupied territories? And if you reply yes, there will be a different look at you, and there's many jobs that you will be able to get if you happen to live on the Germany occupied territories. And then, of course, her signature in the end that everything is correct. Then in October of 1941, she ended up being moved. She said etapировana, so that's like she was the part of some group that Germans were moving around to the town of Gdov. I didn't have a chance to look it up. And in Gdov, she received the pass for traveling to Estonia. And in November of 1941, she arrived to town of Narva. In Narva, she started working as domrabotnica, so just like a housekeeper, to Estonian person Embrich Boris Ivanovich, who lived at such and such address, and she worked there till 1943. So she actually got a pretty decent job, being just a homemaker, and actually living in an apartment with that person. And she said, проживая на квартире, so living in his apartment in summer of 1943, I got a job at the local factory, some kind of manufactura. It's hard to read this handwriting. So anyway, making like consumer goods, and that's why she worked as a черная рабочая. So just like doing anything, labor, manual labor, up to February of 1944. So probably the guy didn't have money to pay her to be a housekeeper. He still allowed her to live in his apartment, but then she had to start working. Then in February of 1944, together with the family of this guy, they moved from Narva to Tallinn. So I assume that's the Red Army was approaching Estonia. So they were moving away from the front. And she said, while living in Tallinn for several months, once again she worked as a черная рабочая, so just like a manual labor worker. Not sure what this place. It's hard to read. So she explains the different positions that she worked as a cleaning lady. So very much she ended up working in different manual work labors in Tallinn. And this is the end of the page. And pretty much she stayed when the Germans left Tallinn. So next question right here is, what have you been doing into the after-war period? And reply, once again, it's so interesting. She replies in such a patriotic way, I guess trying to make some kind of last-second impression. Со дня освобождения частями советской армии города Таллина от немецко-фашистских захватчиков. So it's almost, it sounded like a Soviet radio. From the day of freeing city of Tallinn by the Soviet army troops from the German fascist occupiers, and so that's November 12, 1944. I lived in Tallinn and didn't work anywhere. Then I started working at the main hospital of the North Baltic Fleet, where I worked, where I work now as the clinical lab person. So, there's a lab test, and I guess she's taking, samples of blood, urine, or whatever. And together with that position, I also work from the May of 1947. I work in some medical, another medical facility, another military outfit, Pagranatriada, so the border patrol number 106. And this is underlined, it's interesting. So it's right here, it says that she works Санчасть Pagranatriada номер 106. So she also worked at that location. So North Baltic Fleet, and also she's working at the a hospital for the border troops, and that's for some reason was signed. So this is important information. So interrogator used a red pencil to kind of mark that part. All right, so now we get to business. Question: Какой сектантской общине вы принадлежите? To what type of sextant community do you belong? So sextant is like a religious sect community. And she replies, I belong to evangelical Christian community located at this address, Street, Cottle Street, house number 92, where Simanov Georgi is kind of like their priest. The next question: do you belong to illegal organization Единение в Христе, Unity in Christ? And she replies, in illegal organization Unity in Christ, I never belonged to, and never was part of it. So she's definitely fighting that thing. So I just flipped the page and she continues, but I learned about his organization in the winter of 1946. So next question right here. How did you learn about existence in Estonia of illegal organization Unity in Christ? Answer. In the winter of 1946, I left, and that's an interesting phrase, заготовки продуктов питания. So they left Tallinn to get some food items, and can't say where she was. It's hard to. Pustovere. So she's somewhere out in the country, some village, and they stayed overnight at the Estonian lady. Can't really read her name here. And that's when she gave her for reading book, religious magazines. They were printed in Potsdam, so it was printed in Germany by the Estonian bourgeois government. So even Estonia was occupied by the Soviets. They still had Estonian government in exile, and I guess they were publishing these religious books. After reading several articles in these magazines, I realized so there was this organization, Unity in Christ, that she existed, and those articles that she read, they were anti-Soviet propaganda and not only religious information. So she just kind of plays along like, this is how I learned about it, and this is what I realized, that they're more anti-Soviet than just a religious organization. That'll be interesting to look it up, this Unity in Christ. See the whole new can of information we can open. Next question right here. Do you know anybody from the management or members of illegal organization Unity in Christ? So look at that. They keep on repeating this illegal organization. And she replies, from the management of illegal organization, Unity Christ, I know the following people. And then she started giving names of the people. Smirnov and his wife, and something was not corrected here, so she signed the law that the word was changed to Jana. So she said one word and then she said corrected herself, so she confirmed yes, this was a different word. So it's interesting bureaucracy here of interrogation. So Smirnov and his wife Natalia organizers of illegal organization Unity in Christ. All right, go on to the next page. All right, so we're on page 14 of this interrogation. So in 1937, they left for Sweden, and at current time they maintain correspondence, so письменная связь, so by letters, with people who live in Tallinn. And then she goes names, can read the name, Van Gust Johanna, and I learn about it from the words of another person, some Elizaveta. Next person, so that's this Van Gusta Johan. So during the Great Patriotic War, he was in the Soviet Union, so he was not in the occupied territories, and from there he brought a Russian woman that he lives with. So then provides information. Oh, plenu, maybe he was maybe it's the word plen, so maybe he was captured. I'm not sure, this is the word I can't read what it says. Something he was in USSR. And he brought a Russian woman with him and lives with her right now. He doesn't have a high education. Yeah, I don't know his personally. And once again, I learned from him from the words of this Yelizaveta Pente. Is a regular member of illegal organization Unity in Christ. I know the following people, and she goes through somebody Evald during the Great Patriotic War. He was fighting, находился на фронте, and the current time he lives in some kind of region, Verusky Uyezd. I met him only once in the apartment of Tenta. I know him as a member of underground organization. So she calls it подпольная организация. He used the legal, now it's a подпольная underground organization, Unity Christ. About his враждебная деятельность. Wow, there's whole words here. Враждебная деятельность is like a enemy activity in this organization. I'm gonna flip the page. Okay, so she doesn't know anything about his any bad activities. Then she continues, second person, last name, first name Foma, age of 70. He worked in 1946. Look like at railroads. Don't know anything about his враждебная деятельность. So she names people but claims that she doesn't know anything about their illegal activities. It's almost like enemy activities. Then another Kulikova Anastasia. So she just goes through the list of different people that she knows they're part of this organization, Unity in Christ. So we just skip all that. Next question right here. With whom from the mention above people do you continue to keep in touch or used to keep in touch? And she replies here, from the named above people, I used to talk and still talk with this one lady, T.S. Elizaveta. So she's like friend with her, I guess, and with the rest of the people I don't stay in touch. And next question. Whom from those people did you tell about your cooperation with the state security? So that's the next page. So here we got the scariest part, questions. Whom did you tell that you cooperate with the MGB state security? And she replies, and you see they consider this is all important answers now. They all got it marked. So while cooperating with the state security in the beginning of 1945, so this is 1948, 3 years later. So for 3 years, she was telling people, hey, I'm working for state security, so you gotta be careful when you're around me because I have to report. So she said in the beginning of 1945, I нарушила данную мной подписку о неразглашении. So she signed a paper with state security for not telling anyone what she was doing, and she said I broke that promise that I signed, and I told my сожительница по квартире, so she shared the same apartment with this some lady that went to the same this religious община evangelic. So she was part of another religious group, and she told the lady that she lived with that she was informant. And the name of the lady, Maria Georgievna, tells the address. So I told them that I was called to the MGB offices where I gave my agreement to help them in finding any враждебно настроенные к советской власти. Oh my goodness. So anyone who is doesn't like has a enemy attitude towards the Soviet government among the members of that religious organization, which we call Sextanti, and that I gave them my signed agreement about a secret cooperation. So here we go. This is when she admits. So for 3 years she was telling people she's actually, you can say, like this silent hero, that she was warning people right away from the early 1945 that, hey, they made me to cooperate with them. They made me sign the paper of secret cooperation. So you need to watch out what you're talking around me. So in here, her signature, and it says that interrogation was stopped at 1:20 in the morning on the 12th, and it continued at noon on the 13th. So we're gonna do that in my next video. But here you go. This is her crime. She was called into the MGB office. She was forced into cooperation, and then right away she was telling people for 3 years that she was a secret informant of the state security of the Soviet Union. Okay, so this concludes part 3 of my videos about criminal case of 9902 for Kulikova Antonina Petrovna, who was arrested back in 1948 for telling her fellow religious members that she was a secret agent of MGB, Ministry of State Security. Thank you so much for watching Ushanka Show. Hello everyone and welcome back to Ushanka Show. In today's video we return back to Следственное дело Kulikovой Antonины, criminal case of Antonina Kulikova, who was arrested back in 1948. So this is the part 5, and if you missed somehow my previous videos on this criminal case, I'll post the link below in the comment section to the playlist which contains all the videos. And just a quick reminder, Antonina Kulikova was born in 1921, so she was 27-year-old at the time of her arrest, and she was a secret informer of NKVD, or at that time was called MGB, Ministry of State Security. So this is the part where we stop in her interrogation, which was going on in May of 1948. And this is the next question, вопрос. Кроме сожительницы Никифоровой, so despite the person that you shared the room, who else from your people you know did you tell that you are cooperating with органы MGB, you're cooperating with state security? Reply, besides Nikiforovai, whom I told about my cooperation with state security, I also told that to the member of illegal organization Единство в Христе, so Unity in Christ, tense Елизавета. So this is the actually Latvian, I think, last name. It's T-E-N-T-S, tense. It's definitely not Russian. So now she talks about different persons. She also shared information that she is a state security agent. And you may say, well, what a big deal, okay, so another person knows that Antonina Kulikova was the agent. Well, the problem is Article 58. It was written such a way that if you don't report to state security this conversation, you yourself is in trouble. So if this person, Tense Елизавета, failed to report to state security, she could also get in trouble and get in prison, according to Article 58, статья 58, for not reporting. So this is actually scary. It's not enough that you already in trouble yourself. Now you tell who else knew, and now state security could verify, hey, that person didn't report either, so they could arrest her and send her to labor camp as well. So it says, I knew this person, so that's Tense Елизавета, since 1946, so for two years. Besides Nikiforovai and Tense, I didn't tell anyone about my cooperation with state security. Next question. When and how, при каких обстоятельствах you broke our agreement for the second time, and this agreement was signed on October 24th, 1944, about cooperating with the state security. So first time she betrayed state security when she told her lady that she shared a room with. Second time, that was with this lady, Tense, and I apologize, not Latvian, it's Estonian last name because it's Tallinn, right, capital of Estonia. So in February of 1947, I don't remember exact date, on one of the streets of the city of Tallinn, I met member of illegal, she constantly repeats that, illegal organization, Unity in Christ, Terz Елизавета, and I told her that by the NKVD, organами NKVD, so by the NKVD organization, I was tasked with watching over her and other members, so and other believers, верующими. So it's not that she tells her that, hey, I'm working or cooperating with NKVD, with state security. I'm actually tasked to kind of spy after you. So she just tells like really everything, right? So given my agreement about cooperating with NKVD, I signed the paper, so I'll be meeting with one of the сотрудников, man, this handwriting is pretty challenging. So that she will be meeting with the members of, I'm not sure, a religious organization or members of NKVD. So this lady replied that it's not good for the believer to do something like that, to cooperate with state security. That I shouldn't, that I should be stronger and refuse to sign the papers. After that, I told the lady that in these papers that I signed, I made agovorka, so it's kind of like I don't know how to translate it. So she said that she kind of made tried to dodge what was going on, that she will be only telling the truth and she will never lie. So like, it's a big sin to lie, right? And if you're a religious person, so she's like, well, I wrote that I will never lie, so I'm gonna be okay, even in eyes of the God. All right, moving to page 16. So after that meeting that I told this lady about my cooperation with state security, I haven't met her for another month, and later I met her again months later. And while we were talking with this lady, I noticed that she doesn't want to talk to me much, малоразговорчивая, and kind of changed her attitude towards myself. Well, obviously, you tell the lady, hey, I'm working for state security, and the lady suddenly changed her attitude. In order to kind of fix our relations, I explained to her that I stopped cooperating or stopped communication with NKVD, and I don't meet their person, the one is like a communication person. In the following meetings, I was reminding her the meetings. So it looks like they meet in an apartment, so it's like a small meetings of believers. I noticed that she wasn't trusting me, so I kept on reminding her that I quit working for NKVD. They don't bother me anymore, so she should be cool with me again. Approximately in March of 1948, so during our last meeting, this lady told me that now she's sure that I don't deal with NKVD anymore, and she will forget about the past and we'll be friends again. And this, once again, there's a red pencil marks that something important was said. Next question. Рассказав своем служении. Okay, we're gonna flip the page here. The question is kind of silly. So after you told these ladies, Nikifora and Tarte, about cooperating with MGB, so it's interesting. So Kulikova saying that she's cooperating with NKVD, while her interrogator says you are cooperating with MGB. And I made a video earlier about it, how they changed the cancelled commissariat name and returned back to old-fashioned ministry name. So MGB, right here. So said, did you ask them not to tell anyone that you are, working for MGB? And she replies, ответ right here. And it's all important part, apparently. Red pencil again. Yes, after I told Nikiforova and Tents about my cooperation with state security, I warned them they shouldn't tell anyone about it. But during my last meeting with Mrs. Tents, that happened on March 28, 1948, my goodness, there's a complicated. So they were on a trip that she mentioned earlier, and I guess there was a conversation about cooperation. And I replied, why are you talking? Why do you need to know? She was asked, are you still cooperating with state security, something like that? And she said, why are you asking that? I don't need to report you of any changes. So it's kind of bizarre here. And I apologize, this handwriting is pretty changed. So the last question, Do you wish to add anything else to your interrogation? Reply, I have really nothing to add. So then it says the protocol допроса will proceed. So she read her own interrogation, confirmed everything's correct, and she signed. And the person who was doing interrogation, lieutenant, signed his name, and somebody verified. So this is page 15 and 16. Okay, now we're on page 17, so there's another interrogation, another protocol допроса. So it's official record of the interrogation. So this one was done once again on May 14, 1948 at 2:30 in the afternoon. Once again, her data, repeat of the information that she was born in 1921 in Kazan, Tatar Autonomous State, Soviet Socialist Republic, her current address, that she's Russian and a citizen of Soviet Union, member of communist, Young Communist VLKSM since 1938 till September 1941. It's when she got into German occupation, education of 10 years. So basically, once again, everything repeats. So that's the beginning of her second interrogation, or, well, third technically. And I believe I already went through the standard forms, but once again, question about your family, and she says she's by herself, одинокая, so no members of the family. Question number 14 is any arrests and any criminal activity prior, and it says before revolution, then after revolution. So said no, I wasn't there. Do you have any awards, medals, any like the gramota, so that's like official papers, then even weapons that Soviet government gave, you know, that I don't have it. Military records, she is not a military person. Did she serve in the Red Army? No. And did she serve for White Army? No. Did she participate in any gangs? Bandy, so that's like not literally like street gangs, it's the guerrilla fighting organization, Bandy. Nope, didn't participate. And any information about her political activity. So standard formula for interrogation the Soviet citizen. All right, so page 18, question. On May 12, 1948, you were told about that we made decision to arrest you and keep you in prison instead of, you know, like you be allowed to go home. Are you familiar with this order? And she says, yes, I'm familiar about the order about choosing my мера пресечения, so keeping me in prison, and I completely accept my guilt in my crime about telling people that I'm an agent and cooperating with state security. Next question. Once again, those questions were asked before. Кто были ваши родители? Who were your parents? And каково по имущественное положение? Like how they were doing financially. So she replies, my father, Kulikov Pyotr, he died in 1921. So that's when she was born. And all I know from the words of his relatives that he worked in the village Igoreva, and he worked as a blacksmith. I'm not sure if he owned any land. My mother, Kulikova Alexandra Yegorovna, maiden name Titova, from the village Ruski, not sure what the name of the village, also from Tatar region. They had a small lot, and she says I'm kind of remembering something. And I remember that we were considered bidnyaki, so it's like a poor peasants. There was a pretty much bidnyak was a poor peasant. There was serednyak, like a middle peasant, and then we had a kulak, so that's the rich peasants. That's the standard classification of peasants after revolution. The size of her usadьба of her like farm, I don't know. My mother passed away in 1927, so when Antonina was only 6-year-old. And then it says, I read this record of my interrogation in Russian language, and it was recorded from my words correctly, and that's his signature and the signature of the person who interrogated. Okay, now we're at page 19, and there's another protocol допрос, another record of interrogation. What's interesting, it's the same form, but paper feels way thicker. So it was printed at a different time. This interrogation occurred on May 16 at 1:15 in the afternoon. So at least she's not being interrogated at night, which was a popular way. And this was done by actually Major Udalov. I'm going to try to see if I can locate maybe information on these people that work in Estonia at that time. And this handwriting, of course, way better, way easier to read. But it's pretty much a repeat of everything that she's Russian citizen. I don't remember if that was before, but it says her passport was confiscated at the time of arrest. And she is social origins from the poor peasants. So that's the page 19. Let's see what questions she was asked here. Very important questions, my goodness. Вопрос. Уточните ваше социальное происхождение. So please be more specific on your social origins. Like, who cares? You know, well, maybe if you're originally from rich people, then you'll get shot. If you're originally from poor people, you're just going to send to GULAG camp. So reply, I'm not sure exactly about my social origins. When my parents died, I talked about it in my previous interrogation, I was given to the детский дом, so that's like orphanage house. Later, my older sister told me that our parents, before they died, lived in a village called Егорьево, Lanchskого района in Tatar Republic, and they had бедняцкое хозяйство, so they had like they were poor peasants. Next question. During your previous interrogations, you said that told about your communications and connections with MGB, with state security, to the citizens of Nikiforova and Tentris. Tell me, who else did you decipher yourself? That's an interesting word, расшифровались. Who else did you expose yourself as the agent? Reply, тут interesting word, заверяю, so it's like I swear pretty much that besides Nikiforov and Tentris, I didn't tell anyone about my cooperation with state security. So just for 2 questions, another interrogation, and then once again she verifies yes, that's correctly everything written down, and MGB Major Udalov. Okay, so now we're at page 21. So this is pretty scary document. So this is постановление, so it's kind of like the decision was made, right? What kind of, I'm just not knowing these English words, so this is what she's guilty of. So this is statement determined what was determined was her guilt. And it was confirmed by Major of State Security Jakobson. You need to look him up on May 26. Tallinn, city of Tallinn, May 26, 1948. Начальник, so it's like a chief of a special department of MGB, Ministry of State Security. Here, they blocked NKVD, so that's old form they still utilize in Major Udalov. So no name, no first name, just the title and the last name. That's how it says here, звание и familia. So after looking at these materials in case number 002 and considering the fact that Kulikova Антонина Петровна достаточно изобличается в том, so it says has enough evidence that she, while being a secret agent, and there they missed the word organov, so organ is like, anyway, state security. So she, while being an agent of state security, she stepped on the road of double dealing, путь двурушничества, and she сознательно расшифровалась, so she's like consciously deciphered herself, so told people who were doing anti-Soviet activity. So being a religious person was being anti-Soviet. She told them about her secret like missions. So she told them like, hey, I'm supposed to like spy on you guys. So this is her обвинение. Don't know that English word, but anyways, that's when you tell this is what we think you are guilty of. And there's some people commenting there, for some reason they use the letter Z to fill the empty spaces, just to mark like, hey, there's nothing else should be here. I don't know why. And the back of the same page, so that was, decision was made according to the articles 128 and 129 of the criminal case of the Russian Federation. Once again, this is going on in Estonia, but she's being treated according to the Russian Federation criminal case. So she will be now обвиняемая in Article 121. I'm not sure. So based on Articles 128 and 129, she's guilty according to Article 121, criminal case of Russian Federation. So she needs to sign that this, we found you guilty according to this, and you should be aware of it. So, and yes, I was told about it on May 26, 1948, Kulikova. So this very much kind of, they wrapped up the case and told her this is what we're looking at. Okay, my friends, this concludes part 5 of my review of a criminal case number 9902 of Kulikova Antonina, secret agent of Soviet state security who got in trouble for telling her friends that she was spying on them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon. We continue our review of Следственное дело, criminal case of Kulikova Antonina, which was started back in 1948 in Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. And before we begin, I would like to mention in one of my previous videos, somebody posted a comment that this religious organization still exists at Unity in Christ, and they actually posted the link to their website, but for some reason YouTube removed that comment. That kind of strategy that YouTube implies, it really makes me upset, because I don't delete comments ever or often. Once in a while there'll be some offensive comment, I will delete it and ban the person. But usually I don't delete comments, and that was a good comment. It actually had a link to this religious organization, but then that comment disappeared. I don't know why, but anyway, they're still in business, and we continue with our review. It's video number 6. In my previous video I failed to translate, so this is indictment. So постановление о предъявлении обвинения. So this is, she's been indicted of crimes, and the crimes about while being a secret agent of the state security, she stepped on a way of double dealing and knowingly decipher herself in front of the people that were doing anti-Soviet activity. So that's how she got in trouble. And that's her indictment. Okay, so we have a page number 22, so it's another protocol dопроса, another interrogation record, dated May 26, 1948. The question You saw the document of your indictment according in a crime according to the Article 121 of criminal case of the Russian Federation. And this is an interesting question. В чем вы себя признаете виновной? So, which part you accept your guilt in this indictment? And she replies, I read my indictment and I was explained the meaning of Article 121. As to indictment, I accept that I'm guilty, that while being a secret agent of state security, I told about my connections to state security to my not friends but accomplices or people I know, Nikiforova and Tenre. And I was aware that Tenre was a member of religious secta, so that's like religious group Smirnova, Союз Единения в Христе, so the union of uniting in Christ. So she knew that this lady was part of this religious sect, and that was her job to actually watch over her, right? So she knew, and I was supposed, I had a task from the state security to kind of like verify if they had a practical anti-Soviet activity. So she was supposed to penetrate that religious sect organization and find out what they did as an anti-Soviet activity. I do not admit myself guilty only in that I knew anything about their anti-Soviet activity of that lady and other members of that organization. So look at her, she's pushing back. Yes, I deciphered myself. I told people I'm an agent, but I want to mention that I never discovered or never knew anything about anti-Soviet activity of this Mrs. Tents or other members of this organization. This interrogation occurred at 10 minutes to midnight, so for over an hour till 1:15 in the morning. And once again, she signed, and Major Udalov signed it too. So that was Major doing this interrogation. Okay, moving along, another interrogation, page number 23. This one occurred, let's see, in June 1948, so several days prior. Look at that. That's a nice handwriting right here. 10 o'clock, 30 minutes. And that's the senior investigator, Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev. I need to look him up, but he definitely has a nice handwriting. Look at that, MGB. Estonska says, so he has a, and it's Kulikova once again, so this repeat, and a giant Z letter, to like he doesn't want to bother to write down information that already was asked several times. Okay, so page 24, June 22nd, 1948. Question. During your interrogation on May 11, you stated that having a special task from the state security as a secret agent, you told about it to the people that actually state security was interested in. Tell us in details how that, what was the kind of occasion that you told them that you're agent? Reply. I signed my paper, подписка, so that's how like I signed my agreement about secret cooperation with the state security. I gave on October 1944, I don't remember exact date. The обязательства, so I accepted my responsibilities. The responsibilities that I accepted as being an agent were affecting me, like тяготили меня, so they were laying like heavy on my shoulders, and I felt moral weight, like moral, weight, I guess. And because of that, I had a need to talk, to share with someone about my душевное переживание, so it's like my soul torture. I lived in an apartment together with evangelical lady Nikiforova Maria Georgievna, so she shared a room with her, and with her I decided to share my emotions, my переживания, my troubles. Approximately in December of 1944, I told this lady Nikiforova that I signed the papers with the state security and agreed to keep an eye or watch among the believers, watch over believers in order to discover among those believers any enemies of the Soviet government, which could be under disguise of the religious people actually hiding from the Soviet security. Besides that, I was supposed to be kind of watching and listen to the priests. So all this, when they pray, she's supposed to be listen to that and read. And then here, she didn't agree what the guy wrote it down. In case if this propovedi, this so when the priest had a statement, right, if they have anti-Soviet character. So she didn't like this part, and she crossed it out, and she wrote on the side that I didn't say that, and then she signed it, so it's interesting. So when I told this Nikiforova lady, when I признание, so like when I admitted what I was doing, she replied that, there is nothing special or shameful, since the Soviet security is interested in people which are interested to them. It's a good answer. About a month later, about 2 months later, in 1945, I told Nikiforova lady that my paper that I signed with state security expired, and that government is not interested anymore in my activities, and now I'm free from the duties that I took for the security people, that no one will be bothering me anymore. I told all that to Nikiforova in the purpose that she, in order that she will forget that I was a secret agent of state security. Maria Nikiforova, she is age around 50, not educated. She didn't understand me correctly, and I'm positive that she never told anyone else about what I told her. In the winter of 1946-1947, nope, correcting myself, that says in the winter of 1945, in January, approximately in January, I received actually a конкретное задание. So actually security told her and give her a specific task in regards of making a contact with some Smirnovцы. So the last name Smirnov, so that's the person that was organized this religious sect. And of course, if you follow like Trotskyists, there's a Smirnovцы, with the members of Union of Rejoining with Christ. In particular, I was told to make a contact with the citizen Tenth Елизавета. Soon after receiving this job, I don't remember the date, on the way from some town back to Tallinn on a train, I saw this lady the citizen lady, which I knew from the Narva town, but I don't recall her name or the last name. This lady, still in Narva town, was visiting these evangelist meetings. That's why I knew her. So I approached her and started talking. Man, that's a long one here. All right, page 25. That's the same interrogation, just the next page. So I started chatting with her, and during our conversation, I asked her if she knows who are Smirnovцы, because I heard a lot of the Smirnovцы people, and I was willing to meet them. So this lady, Grazdanka, they say, so there's a female citizen, told me that she's by herself, she by herself as Smirnovka, so she's a part of that group, and offered me her friendship, during which she said her name is Lisa. That's how I understood that this lady is Tenta Elizaveta, that Tents, that I was tasked to kind of like locate and get in touch. So this lady, Tents Elizaveta, invited me to her apartment and gave me her address. This is how I kind of познакомилась, so I got introduced and met Tents. In the end of December of 1946, or in the beginning of 1947, January, February month, я расшифровалась перед Tents, so I deciphered myself for Tents. So first she kind of got herself to meet her, become friends, and then she also exposed herself to this lady. Моя расшифровка, so this is how it happened, how my deciphering occurred. Even before meeting Tents, I had a job, a task from the state security to meet with another lady called Kulikova Anastasia. So they give her names, like, hey, you need to get in touch with this lady and see if she's an anti-Soviet person. So they gave me address of the lady where she lived, at the town of Turi. And during this, interaction with this lady, in case if she'll ask me how I knew her address, I was supposed to say that address was given me by another lady, Titya Ekaterina, which I didn't know at all. As expected, this Kulikova lady, mentioned a little bit earlier, asked how did she know my address, and I told her that I got address from this lady. It's just like a really lousy spy story. After my introduction to Tents, Elizaveta, so this lady, Tents, Kulikova, and Pastel, they wrote each other letters, and I guess this is how she got busted. Yep, so I just flipped the page. So yeah, and she said, so they wrote each other letters and discovered that I lied to Kulikova because the other lady, the Pastel, never gave me the address. So this is how they got suspicious. So they mentioned that to this lady, Elizaveta Tents. And because of that, I lost trust in the eyes of hers and other Smirnov members, so the religious sect. So these ladies, all three of them, became стали настойчиво интересоваться. So they were persistently asking, how did you learn our addresses? I told them that the address was given me by another lady. So she was kind of coming up with another name that was a person that didn't exist. So this way I got myself totally trapped and kind of got myself in an inconvenient situation. So in order to kind of gain trust again, and I decided that I'll tell Elizaveta Tents that I'm a secret agent of the state security, And according to their task of the state security, that's how I got introduced to Smirnovtsi. And the addresses were given me by state security. So kind of lousy excuse, but yeah, she got pretty much like, okay, I'm just tired of lying. So this Mrs. Stantz asked, what are they interested in? And I replied that state security is interested in people that lived during occupation in Estonia, during the German occupation, what they were up to, and generally they're interested in like personalities of these people. About a month and a half later, while seeing that Mrs. Stantz still doesn't trust me, I told her that now I have no relations to the state security because they just let me go and they don't bother me. Despite that, I still felt there was no trust. And once again, she corrected that they wrote her words not correctly. Kind of interesting that it's actually a witness can correct the information. Okay, page 26, still same interrogation from June 22nd. So she says that I realized I still didn't gain trust of Mrs. Stantz. So in this case, I just decipher myself as about my cooperation with the state security. And this interrogation was finished at 15 o'clock. I read it and all my words are correct, and it was done by Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev, signature and everything. So this is pretty much the whole story. I mean, she is definitely lying and lying really badly. I think it's everything simple. She just felt guilty and told the people that she was forced into cooperation with state security. Remember I told you earlier that you could get in trouble in the Soviet Union for not reporting enemies of the state or people that were doing anti-Soviet activities. So in the next video we're going to review, it's a long document, again, it's page 27. So now, это выписка из протокола допроса. So that's the excerpt from the interrogation. Now, who had been interrogated? Stantz Elizaveta Ivanovna. So the lady got in trouble too. So now she is also in trouble. We'll see why, but that will be my next video. But she was interrogated on July 1948 with all the question, like the first question, name the people that you are aware secret agents of MGB. And she provides the list, and number 3 is Kulikova Antonina. Father's name, I don't know. So this will be my next video, but as I said, this is one of the horrors of Article 58, that sometimes you can get in trouble. They'll be like so-called provocatori, right? And so the people will on purpose say something bad about Stalin, and then watch, if you don't report that, then you can get arrested too. So people were just reporting because they were scared that it was a provocation. It's bad. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, so as I mentioned in my previous video, this is page 27. This is when it gets ugly. So now we have выписка из протокола допроса обвиняемой Stantz Елизаветы Ивановны. So now that's the other lady that was member of this religious sect, that she was supposedly doing anti-Soviet activity. So she got arrested herself, and now she is обвиняемая, so she's the one that being indicted as well. And as выписка, so it's a part of her interrogation. So they attached part of her interrogation as a reference to interrogation of Our Lady. So question, name the people that you know, known to you as a secret agent of the state security. The answer, as secret agent of security MGB, I know Valgust Claudia I don't know her paternal name, so lady. Number 2, Shlupina Alexandra Semyonovna, so it's another lady. And this is our main character that we're following, Kulikova Antonina. So she knew 3 ladies who were agents of MGB, State Security. Next question. How did you find out about a secret cooperation of mentioned above people with MGB? And she replies, all these people personally told me of their secret cooperation with MGB. So that's interesting. So they all admitted to this Elizaveta lady that they are secret agents. So apparently religion became stronger than secret agreements. The first person who told me about it was Kulikova Antonina at the following situation. So this is our lady. I knew Antonina approximately since 1943 from the town of Narva. But closer we got kind of introduced and started hanging out, I guess, in city of Tallinn in the fall of 1946. Exact date I don't recall. So I was on the train from the train station Pestula. I was on the way back to Tallinn, and in the train car, I saw a familiar lady, Kulikova, so that's our lady, which also recognized me as person she knew before, so she sat at my bench. And during our conversation, Kulikova told me, so she's very interested in Smirnovtsi, so that's, I told you, Smirnov, that was organizer, creator of that religious organization. So she's very interested in the faith of Smirnovtsi, and then she traveled to the town Vilyanda, where she met with Shlupina Alexandra. Then she also visited town of Turi, and where she met another lady, Kanyukhova Anastasia, and in another town, Soavers, boy, there's a lot of details. She met with another lady, Ray Volina, so I guess they're all members of this religious organization. While telling me about that, Kulikova informed me that Shlunina told her about some lady, Tensi Elizaveta, which she characterized as an extremely positive person, because of that, she, the Kulikova, our lady, would like to meet very much this Tensi Elizaveta, that's me. So she's talking like, hey, like she knew her, but she didn't know her by name, and so it almost sounds like she was working her, trying to become a friend. So she adds, it looks like while she knew me, she didn't know my name and last name. So I told Kulikova that I'm in fact this person, Tensi Elizaveta. In such a way we got introduced. Further in our conversation, I asked Kulikova why did she go to Shlunins and Kanyukhova and generally to the believers. So Kulikova got a task to get into this organization. So she's traveling all over on a train, talking to these ladies, trying to like penetrate the organization. So Kulikova replied to me that she was on vacation and used her vacation to travel around towns of Estonia. And she visited these believers because she is very interested in this religion of Smirnovtsi, and that's why she traveled to see Smirnovtsi people. Later, Antonina Kulikova came to my apartment, and when we left the apartment on the street, I asked her how did she find the address of these other ladies, Shlupinai and Kanyukhovai, and So she's getting suspicious here. So Kulikova Antonina replied to me that those addresses was given to her by some person named Shura, but which one she didn't say. Well, addresses were given her by state security, and she forgot her last name. We didn't talk on the topic after that, so she didn't want to talk to me on the topic and quickly left. About 2 weeks later or 3 after this meeting, Kulikova came to my place of work and told me that she would like to talk to me, that all this time ее очень мучила совесть, so she was kind of like feeling bad because earlier she lied to me. Addresses of the believers Slupina and Konyukhova, she told me, wasn't given to her by some Shura person, by a member of state security, which gave her a task to watch after Slunina and Konyukhova, because Kulikova Antonina, in fact, is a secret agent of state security. So she's telling her everything right here. And then it was a job. She was sent by MGB to town of Ilyanda in Turi in order to kind of become friends with Slupina and Konyukhova. So this confession of Kulikova, I replied to this confession that since she is a believer herself and knew how believers behave, there's no reason to watch after them. About a month later, I met her again, and she told me that she is not meeting state security agent anymore, and it doesn't receive any tasks from them. So this is the situation when I learned about secret cooperation between Kulikova Antonina and MGB. Next question. Whom did you tell that Kulikova Antonina was a secret agent of MGB? Thank goodness. Answer. After that admission that she is a secret agent of MGB, Kulikova expressed her desire to go visit the apartment of Volgust Yuhan, with whom he would like to meet, and ask me to help me with her. So this guy, another probably guy from the church, from this religious sect, they say. And I told her that I will talk to him, and that I also will inform him that Kulikova is a secret agent of MGB. Kulikova asked me not to tell about it to this person, but I objected and said, so you're planning to go to Valdust and you're going to talk to him without telling him who you are? Then Kulikova replied, okay, if you want to, tell him. So I informed Volgust about Kulikova's desire to meet him, and also warned him that Kulikova is a secret agent of MGB. Volgust Yuhan replied, he has nothing to talk with Kulikova. He has nothing to talk about with Kulikova, and she has no business with us. That because she is a member of a different religious sect, and we are not doing any religious meetings, and we don't read any. I'm trying to remember the word propoved, how to translate it in English. So that's what the priest, preaches, right? So I told about it to Kulikova, and we haven't met after that. And I don't recall if I told anybody else about the secret cooperation of Kulikova with state security. I cannot add anything else to my confession. It's recorded correctly, so that's her signature, interrogator, senior investigator Nikolaev, and there's more confirmation that the rest of the interrogation is located in the criminal case number 9900 for the 10th Elizaveta Ivanovna. So this is just kind of a part of it, just a small part is a reference. Okay, before we continue, I want to show you something. So this is a criminal case of 9902, when Kulikova Antonina was arrested. The lady that I just read in her confession, her case is 9900. That means that she got arrested before Kulikova did. So when state security discovered the leakage, I guess, that leaked that her secret engine was compromised, they arrested a bunch of people, and so that lady, then another person, and then Kulikova was arrested, depending how many prior, but she wasn't arrested first. See, it's 9900 versus 9902. Okay, we're moving along. It's page 30, so that's another vypiska. So there's another part of the interrogation. Now we have Valgust Klavdia Ivanovna, so that's another person that also learned about Our Lady being a secret agent. Interrogation happened in July 1948. So have a dot, so that's like somewhere in the middle of interrogation. This is the part they consider that relates to our criminal case. About all these people that I told you already in the previous interrogations, except as a secret agent of MGB, I also knew citizen Kulikova Antonina, which I don't know personally and never met her. So she kind of informs that she was talking about different people, and then she knows that Kulikova was so famous that even people who never met her, they knew that she's a secret agent. About secret cooperation of Kulikova Antonina with MGB, I learned from the words of 10th Elizaveta, so that's a lady that we just read her interrogation, which told about it to my husband, Valgust Johan, while I was present. Okay, so this is the wife of the pastor, looks like it. She was telling my husband about it because Kulikova wanted to be introduced to my husband in order so that she can visit our apartment, because she was interested in our religion of Smirnovci and wanted to listen to our propovedi, so priest speeches. So my husband refused to see Kulikova, and he told Tense about it, because his speeches, okay, not speeches, sermons, I just recall the word, because he doesn't do sermons, and he has nothing to talk with Kulikova about. There's no more secret agents of MGB that I'm aware of. And once again, she signs yes. This is correct words. I confirm that. Same guy, Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev was interrogator. Interesting ink stamps here. And it says the original of the interrogation paperwork is located in the file number 9910. So she's in trouble too. So the priest and his wife is also in trouble now, because it looks like they never reported on this secret MGB leakage. Let me see if I can zoom up on the stamp for you guys. Okay, so the ink stamp says для справок number 14, so for references. So it's a standard stamp when you put paperwork into other paperwork. The level of bureaucracy, insane. Okay, my friends, so this concludes part 7 of our review of criminal case number 9902 of Kulikova Antonina, who was a secret agent of MGB, and she spilled a lot of beans. And now we see how those beans turn out to be poison beans, because a lot of other people, at least 10 more cases, so total of from 9900 to 9910, so total of 10 people, 11 people got in trouble just for knowing that she was a secret agent and not reporting that to MGB. So there's more people coming up in my next video. Please don't forget to like it, and we'll talk to you soon. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. Today's video is episode number 8, review of the criminal case of Kulikova Antonina, which was going on back in 1948. And as I mentioned earlier, this is episode number 8. If you somehow missed my previous episodes, I'll post the link to the playlist below in the comment section. Let's go. Okay, so we are at the page number 32. And once again, it's a protocol doпрос. There's another interrogation. Standard form we saw before. What's new? It's a different person now. So now Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev, who is a senior interrogator, or investigator. On July 12, 1948, he was interrogating Maria Nikiforova. So there's another lady. She was born in 1897, so that's 10 years before my grandparents were born. And she was born in Petserima, which is Russian name Pechory. So that's the name of town or the village. And she also lived in Tallinn, Weitzenberg number 12, apartment 2. So that's probably the lady that lived, Nikiforova. Okay, so that's the one that they lived together, shared the same apartment, shared a room and apartment. Nationality, she's Russian, citizen of the Soviet Union. Didn't belong to any party. That's interesting, it's always беспартийный. So are you communist or you беспартийный, or no party association? There was no other choices. This is interesting. Education, малограмотная. So this is uneducated or little education. My grandparents also were малограмотные. Like my grandma, actually, I only learned in the 80s that she didn't know how to read. Number of her passport, which was issued in January of 1945. And her position, her job was, she was a cook at the military outfit number 81356. So that's her information, and she signed the paper. That's correct information. And Comrade Nikolaev didn't bother to fill any of these questions about what did you do before revolution, after revolution, any of your awards, nothing was of interest. So he just put the giant Z letter, which shows that you cannot add later anything that could mark like there's nothing here. All right, so at the page 33, and she's a witness, so it's crossed out, so she's not the one who is guilty. She's the witness. The witness Nikiforova Maria, July 12, 1948. And there's a warning. Задача ложных показаний предупреждена об ответственности. So for given false statements, she was warned about, so she get in trouble according to the Article 95, once again, of Criminal Code of Russian Federation, though everything is going on in Estonia. And she signed that, yes, I'm aware that I shouldn't lie. Question. Do you know citizen Kulikova Antonina? Answer. Yes, I do. I met Kulikova Antonina in April of 1944 in Tallinn. Since that time and up to her arrest, we lived together in the same room, or she lived with me in the one room. Question. Какие у вас с Куликовой были взаимоотношения? What kind of relations did you have with Kulikova? Reply. I have a normal relations with Kulikova. They were normal. Личных счетов у нас с ней не было и нет. So she had no like grudges against her before or now. Question. Чем занималась Kulikova? Oh wow, период оккупации. That's a great question. So, what did Kulikova do during the German occupation of Estonia while she lived in Tallinn? Okay, so that's a new angle here. Answer. According to Kulikova's words, I knew that before the war she lived in town of Vyborg, where she was evacuated from towards Leningrad, but somehow she couldn't evacuate further, so she was evacuated towards Leningrad but didn't make it all the way to the city, and she found herself on a territory occupied by Germans in Leningrad region, where she moved to Estonia in town of Narva. In Narva, till spring of 1944, Kulikova worked as the housekeeper at the citizens' Embrech. In the spring 1944, the people of the town of Narva, they were evacuated by Germans deeper into Estonia, and Kulikova moved to Tallinn. In the city of Tallinn, Kulikova found a job as a cleaning lady at some German outfit in Vyshgorod and исполняла самую черную работу. It performed just the basic manual work. I think in German they use the same word, Schwarzarbeit, black work. So this is what we say in Russian, черная работа. Financially, Kulikova weren't doing really well, and that was the reason how I met Kulikova, because I felt bad for her and I accepted her to my apartment. Otherwise, I don't know anything else about Kulikova. I didn't notice anything like bad that she was up to. So next question. What Kulikova Antonina was doing after freeing Estonia from Germans? Replied. After freeing territory of Estonia from Germans, Kulikova got the job as a laborant, so like a lab technician, at the hospital where she worked till her arrest. Question. What did she tell you, what Kulikova Antonina told you about her activities besides her main job after freeing Estonia from Germans? Answer. Apart from her job in the hospital, Kulikova worked somewhere else in Rahumeia, but what kind of job she was doing there, I absolutely not aware of. And about any other activities of Kulikova, I don't know anything about, except the fact that last year, in 1947, I don't remember exact date, Kulikova told me that she is a secret agent of MGB, but she didn't specify what kind of work she does, and I wasn't really interested. I wasn't asking any questions. In the evenings, Kulikova often left the house, and when I was asking her where she was going, she replied she was having a business meetings. Of course, I could guess what kind of meetings those were, but I never asked Kulikova about it. Actually, I didn't. The fact that she told me that she was a secret agent of the MGB, I really didn't pay much attention to it, to her words, and her activity in that field absolutely didn't interest me, of course, because you don't want to get in trouble. About months later, or a couple of months, if not sure, Kulikova told me that she is no more a secret agent of MGB, And I replied, oh, well, it's good. And nothing, I didn't ask anything else, and she never told me anything else. Question. Did Kulikova Antonina ever tell you about tasks that she received from the MGB? Answer. No, she never told me about anything, any jobs that she was given, and I wasn't interested in that either. Except for the one situation when Kulikova Antonina left and she wasn't home for a whole week. When she came back to Tallinn, I asked Kulikova Antonina where was she, and she replied, don't ask me, and I never asked her again. Question. Would you like to add anything else to your statement? Answer. I don't have anything additional to my, so it's not really a statement, to my показания, to my information I gave you. I read the protocol and it's recorded correctly. That's her signature, and interrogator, senior investigator, MGB, Estonska SR, senior lieutenant, Nikolaev. So now we have her neighbor ensnared in the same case, but looks like, besides she's not educated, but she was really good at dodging all those questions. Okay, my friends, so this concludes episode 8 of our review of a criminal case for Kulikova Antonina. We have about 10 more pages, 10 more documents to go through. I'm trying to just kind of wrap it up as quick as I can. And I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please don't forget to like it, post a comment, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon. Alright, so as I mentioned, today is episode number 9, and this is unusual. So when I started reading, getting ready for this video with page 35, its date looks like in Soviet Union we have a first as a date, then there's a month, there's a year. So here, I'm not sure if it's 11 or the 2, so it's, I think it's maybe February, no, it's not February 29. I don't know if in 1948 they had 29 days in February or not. So it's either November or February of 1948. This is a copy of a letter that State Security intercepted. And I'm telling you, I was shocked when I learned how much censorship was going on in the peaceful time, not during the war. They were checking pretty much every letter, at least back in the 40s and 50s during the Stalin rule. I'm not sure how much it was continuing like into the 80s and 70s when I was, Soviet citizen. But back then in 40s and 50s, it's literally every letter was opened and read and checked. And I know it because Ukrainian archives open a lot of, they made public a lot of used to be secret records of the KGB, and that's how a lot of Ukrainian nationalists were caught, national fighters in the Western Ukraine. They were writing letters, like wives were writing letters to each other, to relatives, and they will mention something about their husbands, and that's how they got caught, because people didn't realize that every letter was read and inspected. Okay, so this is a copy of it's not an original letter, it's a typed copy. And it starts with Dear Meta, или Meta. So this is a short form of someone's name. Not sure what was the full name, but it relates, of course, to our case. It's a little bit complicated to translate. Maybe it was written in Estonian and they translated into Russian. So it's like, glory to the Mir Божий да умножится, so it's official greeting of those people, like, glory to the world. Let the world of God will be like multiplying. And hope that God will give you strength during this hard time. And once again, this looks like purple. Purple original was red color, and it's changed over the years to purple. Red does that. They underlined anything that relates to this case. So
let the God give you force in this hard time to fight against the enemies. And so MGB, notice that fight against the enemies, so they underline that. Sorry, my dear, that I didn't reply for your letter for a while. I want to remind you that this correspondence give them a lot of work, give them a lot of materials for their work. So she knows that they've been watched, the letter's been read. So she's like, I want to remind you that this correspondence gives a lot of materials for their work. So person named Rufa, sent a letter. Yeah, it's definitely a translation from Estonian. So it's like, spirits are happy, and that letter is in their hands. So Klava, so another lady was asked about the letter from Rufin. So that's how now they found out about Walter. So it looks like a lot of people in trouble through the correspondence. Once again, it's all underlined, as you see. When he was at your place, all the details Klava should recognize. Did he visit? I'm not sure what Orov means, another name or not. So I apologize. This is hard to translate it because it just kind of makes no sense. So of course, Klava told everything. And now, my dear, we have a person here who worked in secret between us. And now listen very carefully, you know. Tonyu, so Tonya, that's Antonina. So this is our main character in this story. I probably shouldn't use this. I used to turn my cell phone on and off. And I cut little fingers, so I apologize. I got to do this one. So Tonya, about whom I mentioned to you, she was interrogated. So yeah, that's Antonina. Just like Klava. So that's another lady that I think we read about her, about all of us. And she couldn't hide anything. And then she mentioned to me everything, so be careful, будьте на страже. Of course, I told everyone in church that even Klava knew all that, so there's another lady that appeared in this case. And now everything came up, it became public. And Tonya is very thankful to me that she trusted me with this secret. So she's like grateful for telling everyone in church that they could be in trouble and being watched, because she could say goodbye to her body, like попрощаться своей плотью, because ей грозила Сибирь. She was in danger of going to Siberia or something even worse. So it looks like the lady trying to write something cryptic, but you know, it makes it all complicated to translate. And I will be guilty in her blood. So Tonya is very thankful to God that God made such a way that she managed to kind of get out easy from her predicament, and then she still has time to live on this earth. Think about it. Who could do it? I kind of guessing who was the person, but I'm afraid to name the name. So there's another secret agent in this church that reported on all this trouble. So she wasn't the only one. And so she said, I'm guessing who is another person, but I don't want to write in the letter. Soon we'll find out. I trust God will tell us the truth, and then I write you everything, and soon we'll see each other eye to eye, then we'll talk about it in detail. I'm asking you, my sister, don't trust anyone. Be careful, kind of like keep an eye on everyone, because I warned you, because these Russian souls, they are very friendly, they really nice, and sometimes, they don't understand what they're doing, good or bad. So sounds like they're probably Estonian people, so that's kind of like Estonian religious group. And now she's saying there's the Russian souls that come to their church, they want to accept them, but they just don't know what they're doing. Sometimes they're thinking they're doing a good thing, but they're doing a bad thing. Now Tonya said that in order so nothing will be happen to me, so I don't have any danger, she won't tell me anything anymore. I considered Lisa. Okay, so there's oh my goodness, I think maybe Lisa, it's Elizaveta, Lisa. I considered Lisa to be an honest and a good person, and now she wanted to pogubить, so almost like she wanted for me to die, like go bad, pretty much how that says. So, but God says that He saved me and said that there is a person between them which worked from them, and I won't say anything, and God doesn't tell me who this person. So so they know there's someone else in their ranks that reports to the state security. I believe that God will reveal everything. I'll be praying for it. From our church, only two are going, Shura and Klava. So Alexandra and Klava, I'm not sure where they're going, but it says from their church these two people are ходят, or they may be still not arrested. Shura came to Tallinn here, and Klava was talking so much about her that Jesus forgave her and wants her back in our family, and she wanted to come back to Tallinn here and work at the local factory, but she wasn't accepted, and still lives in Filin. And Nastya, so it's Anastasia, came and started working at the place called Kayla. It's interesting, питомник лисиц. It's like a foxes, so they raise foxes for fur. Kayla is about 15 kilometers from me. I'm very happy for Nastya that she got rid of that luggage in years. I'm not sure what the years means. So Nastya, that she's not anymore, not a secret agent anymore. Greetings to you, Nastya and Anya. So it looks like someone else was writing additional messages in the same letter. Rufa sends you 200 rubles of money, and I also send you some money. Let us know how you live in. Write at least a couple of words. As the Spirit Mother writes, they may arrive, maybe not. So maybe that's the people who live in Sweden and they came, like a Spirit Mother in that church. I heard that you're there not doing good, and that you being chased. Leave and go to Verachka, so it's the lady. Take a rest there a little bit. My dear, you wrote me, so I need to take your things. I took your bed, 3 chairs, a table, a washer, cup, everything that you said. Anya also sends you 100 rubles. She feels sorry for you, that you having a hard time without a job. I believe that God won't let you alone. Say hello if you're gonna write to our Spirit Mother and others, Brother Mikhail and his children and everyone else in Moscow. Alexandra, Larisu, Dunyu, Karvoro, so she shouldn't be mentioning all those names in the second part of this letter. kisses and hugs. Let the God watch over you and keeps you in his hands. Helga sent a telegram from Katya here to Tallinn. She was asking if you're in Tallinn, where are you? We are not sure what this old telegram is about. Now I decided to send brother Foma to you to find out what is going on and where are you. So once again it's underlined, so they want to catch that brother now. Why Helga was asking about you, she thought that you were taken, and generally everyone was worrying and feel bad about you. Anya right now is cooking in the kitchen and tells you hello. She thinks about you a lot. And every day during the prayers, we think about you and pray about you. Remember about us as well. Once I get a vacation, I will come to visit you. Tear my pieces and burn it. So they underline that one too. Well, doesn't help to rip the letter already been read. So in spirits I want to run and reach God, enjoy his glory and glory to him for everything. Your sister Lisa, want a couple of words from you, so write me. Send you several brochures about spirit conversations. You will need them. And there is a little comment, spravka. And this document was confiscated during the arrest of Radna Tomas Yakubovich, who was arrested in MGB Moscow region. So maybe this letter was not actually mailed by mail, but a guy took it. And he was arrested, and that's how they got hold of this letter. Maybe it's one of the reasons why the whole thing got going. And it says here a little side comment on the bottom. Podlinnik, so the original is located in the criminal case number 9900, which is again the Stentis EAE. And then somebody says, I read that. Also another signature. Then we have this big ink stamps. We're gonna zoom it up in the next moment. So yeah, once again, для справок, so for additional comments, so that's additional paperwork. Yep. So anyway, so this is what's going on here, and then we're gonna look at the next part. Okay, so we're back to the handwriting, page 37. It says, I confirmed the manager of the investigating department MGB Estonskaya SSR, Major Jakobson. I'm curious to see if we can put some faces on these names. Major Jakobson in Estonia in 1948. So постановление, so it's like an order dated from July 12, 1948. And 1948, that's the year my mom was born, in Tallinn. And it says, me, as senior investigator of the investigation department MGB Estonia, Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev, I looked at the items that were confiscated from the indicted Kulikova Antonina. So Antonina is Tonya. That letter we just read, when they say Tonya, that's Antonina. So that's our main lady. So now the list of items they confiscated. Bible, published in Berlin in 1922, 1. How many items? Book with religious songs. Book Sinai and Golgotha. Another book, Sviat, so the light. The book Where Everything Came From. The book Awakening. The book Cryptograms of the East. Religious brochures for autobiography of Kulikova on the 7 pages. So she wrote about herself and it took 7 pages. Different notes on 15 pages, different photos, 13 pieces, and 7 postcards. So it says, this is what I discovered. So after looking at all those confiscated items, this is what I discovered and made decision. So mentioned above religious literature, autobiography, different notes and postcards. they won't serve any purpose as the вещественное доказательство, like it can be used in investigation. It doesn't prove any guilt of her. So I ordered, and then he lists again all these items that he said: Bible, books, to be taken for the storage into archive of Department A of MGB Estonia until the court decision. So they look at all the items that they confiscated and they're like, nope, there's nothing there incriminating, so we can use them in a case. Signed by Nikolaev and signed by another. He's a supervisor, looks like it. Can't really read his last name too. So this is whatever she had on her was no good for MGB. Okay, my friends, so this concludes episode 9 of our review of criminal case of Kulikova Antonina, who got in trouble because she chose God over state security and got in trouble for that. So we have probably another 1 or 2 episodes left. There's more paperwork to go through. As always, please don't forget to like this video. If you think I did a good job, you can always say thank you with the super thanks. I'm trying to recover the money I spent on this paperwork. So anyway, thanks for watching Ushanka Show. Hello everyone and welcome back to Ushanka Show. So this is another video about criminal case of Antonina Kulikova that we keep on going through, but today it's a little bit different topic. I have to admit I did something to this paperwork in order to show you better the information and read everything, because the way the case was assembled or stitched, a lot of words weren't readable, so I decided I'll take it apart and then I'll have to restitch the case. And actually, I talked to one of my subscribers on Instagram, and she mentioned about why do they stitch the paperwork. And it's actually like a standard. I looked it up, and there is a so-called GOST, so it's a state official standards, and they explain how the paperwork are supposed to be stitched together, literally. And there's instructions, and I found how it's supposed to be done, but I just want to show you. So this, when the case is being put together, stitched together, so there's a specific way to do that, and you could see there is original old stitching, it's a dark color, and the later paperwork was added. That's the one that I had to cut. It kind of has like a light color stitching, so once your case is growing, you just keep on adding additional paperwork and you restitch. And this is what I'm going to talk to you about today. We're still going to go through those documents here. But stitching is actually, it became part of the Russian language, like everyday conversations. It went from criminal side to everyday conversation. And actually, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in his book Gulag Archipelago, he explained that because so many people went through labor camps, not criminals, but just, people arrested for made-up charges, scientists, engineers, and regular folk. So when those who survived and came back to everyday life, they brought with them the criminal language. So a lot of words in the modern Russian language, it's actually originally there were criminal kind of slang, which became part of the language. So today we're going to talk about stitching the cases, because it became like an idiom in the Russian language. So here you go. Шить дело. To stitch the case means безосновательно обвинять в преступлении. Accuse in crimes without evidence or grounds. Similarly, шить дело could mean that someone is lying about someone, or also collecting lies together, so like making a case. So that also could be шить дело. While searching this topic, I discovered that actually there's a specific standard how to stitch the case together, how to шить дело, and it's a pretty detailed explanation. There could be a 3-hole document or 4 holes, and depending on how many holes you have, there's a specific way you stitch. So you start from step 1, and you move to the second hole on the left, then you return to the first hole, return back to the second hole, go over, and that's how you stitch together the case. And here's example how to stitch your case if it has only 3 holes. So similarly, you start from the middle, go to the right, return all the way to the far left hole, and then return back in the middle, and then you just tie the knot. There's another interesting Russian expression, "шито белыми нитками," so it's stitched with the white thread or sewn using the white thread. It's actually copy from the French terminology. This is when people used to make clothing, and initially they will use the white thread to connect pieces together, then they will stitch it properly. So it came to Russian language from French, and it means like obvious lies, something that was put together, some kind of disinformation and done extremely rudely, so you see that's the lie. That means it was stitched with the white thread. So if someone says that the case was stitched with the white thread, дело сшито белыми нитками, that means that the whole case is just full of lies and false accusations. It's not the truth. Дело сшито белыми нитками. Alright, my friends, all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this short video and a short lesson on Russian language. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. This is episode 11, our review of the criminal case or criminal file of Kulikova Antonina, who got in trouble with the Soviet State Security, MGB, Ministry of State Security, back in 1948. She worked as a secret agent, secret informant for the MGB, and she told people that she was spying on, that she worked for state security, and she got in trouble. I hope today we're going to wrap up this story. There's some pages still left, and I already got an angry comment. Someone got sick and tired of seeing exactly the same thumbnail for my videos about this case, but honestly, I don't have enough imagination to come up with anything else to present this story, so we're just going to stay with the pictures of these files and the photo of Antonina herself. Alright, so our next document is page number 38, that's so-called spravka. All my life I grew up with this spravka, so that's kind of like a note from someone. For example, if you skip school, you better bring a spravka from your doctor that informs that, yes, this person indeed was sick. So this note, it says, it was given as a confirmation that the cell, camera, where ZK, that's another popular abbreviation, unfortunately, in the Soviet Union. ZK is заключенный, so that's the person that's got arrested and placed into prison. So it's not convict, I don't think. So this is when you get arrested and you sit in prison or jail, you become заключенный, so locked up person. So it confirms that the cell where Kulikova Antonina, born 1921, so that cell was on quarantine, which means there was some kind of flu or some kind of disease, contagious disease going on among people who were sitting in that cell. So between July 8 and July 15, due to that quarantine, she was not available to be called for interrogation. So doesn't specify what exactly was going on in that cell, but we now learned that she wasn't in a single cell person. She was a bunch of people in the same cell, and all got sick, and it's signed by Secretary, not sure of what, MVD Estonia, and it's the junior lieutenant. So we didn't hear junior lieutenants yet. So this was issued on July 16 of 1948. And just a quick close shot of the ink stamp of MGB of Estonia. So this is a so-called gerb. So that's the symbol of Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. That's how it looked. Next document in this file, page 39, is so-called raspiska. So that's like a confirmation. So me, sister of arrested Kulikova Antonina, and the sister's name was Borodina Nadezhda. So she confirmed that she received from the investigator department of MGB of Estonia savings book. So that's the she had a savings account number 6732 that belonged to the arrested Kulikova with the amount of money 50 rubles and 8 kopecks, and it's signed by her sister. So all the money she had on account was 50 rubles. And back in 1948, unfortunately, I didn't do my homework, but it's not a lot of money. It's definitely, she barely had, like, I don't know, less than a monthly salary saved on her account, so not much at all. All right, so we're getting to the one of the most scariest documents. So this is page 40, Protocol об окончании следствия. So that's the, I don't know how to translate protocol, but this is kind of confirms that the investigation was concluded. So on July 16, 1948, I, the investigator of the investigators department, once again, it's the old paperwork, so it used to be NKVD, so he just put MGB here, Senior Lieutenant Nikolaev. He reviewed the investigating case of file number 9902 that Kulikova Antonina was обвинение indicted in crimes according to the Article 121 of Criminal Case of the Russian Soviet Federation, and confirming that initial investigation is completed and all the proof. So everything they found was enough to move it further towards the court. According to the Article 206 of Criminal Code, so said we told that to the lady and show her the paperwork, and the convicted Kulikova, she looked at the paperwork for 1 hour. She basically looked at everything, doesn't have any complaints, and she got 38 pages that she read through, and she signed that paper. Once again, famous Z, and she wrote it earlier, so they crossed out, that should be her signature right here, and then Senior Investigator Nikolaev. And there's another signature, помощник, so it's a helper of the военный прокурор. I don't know, this guy for some reason says Ленинского округа, so this is some подполковник, so almost like a colonel of jurisdiction, Tarnarutsky. So this pretty much kind of conclusion of the investigation and the final paperwork, protocol. The investigation is completed and it's ready to go for the court. And this is interesting. So that's a медицинская справка. So it's like a medical note. It was actually glued later, looks like it. So it was added later. So they issued for the arrested Kulikova Antonina, born in 1921, that according to her health, she is healthy enough for the physical labor. So they're already pretty much getting her ready to be sent to the labor camp. So here it's confirmed that she is good to work first, second, third, and a fourth category of labor. So she is healthy. Not a good news for her, of course. And it's already, that's the медицинская справка, so this health note is from already prison number 1 in Tallinn. And it said that she was on quarantine, so that's kind of when you close the cell, because she was sick till July 15, and it was issued on July 14. So she is healthy to work at the labor camps. Okay, so we're getting close to the finish line. So this is обвинительное заключение, so that's the conclusion. So it's indictment, pretty much. according to the investigating case number 902 for Kulikova Antonina. And it's утверждено, so it's confirmed by Minister of State Security of Estonian Soviet Social Republic, General Major Kumm. So Kumm. So he confirmed on July 16, 1948. So let's see what it says. So by the Ministry of the State Security of Estonian Republic on May 12, 1948, this lady was arrested and привлечена к уголовной ответственности. So she was arrested and criminally investigated. During investigation on this case, it was concluded that Kulikova, while being a secret сотрудник, so secret agent of the state security, and having a job or task to discover criminal anti-Soviet activity of the citizens of Auguste Yuhanyanovic. So this is the people that she was tasked with to spy on. Pytel Ekaterina, Tenz Елизавета, Shlupina Alexandra, and others, which were members of underground anti-Soviet religious organization named Союз Единения во Христе. So it's the Union of Uniting in Christ, purposely deciphered herself in front of the active member of this organization, Tenz Елизавета, and telling her about getting by her, Kulikova, the task of the state security about investigating of anti-Soviet activities of members of this religious organization. So Tenz Елизавета, knowing about the situation, she warned the members of their union. As a result, Kulikova became, once again, deciphered, расшифрована for all the members of the underground anti-Soviet religious organization, Union in Christ. Besides that, Kulikova told about her secret cooperation with state security to her apartment owner, Nikiforova Maria Georgievna. So we talk about it, that she also had to give information, and it's pages mentioned. So when she was допрошена, so when she was interrogated, Kulikova Antonina admitted its guilt on the page 22. Besides that, she was also, and was confirmed by the people that also were interrogated, Tenz, Valgust, another Valgust, that's a spouse, and the witness Nikiforova. So, based on all this information, the Kulikova Antonina Ivanovna, she's being обвиняется, it's telling her that she committed following crimes. And while we're still on this page, so this says you need to enter this paperwork into the file. And here it says, I agree with sending this case to special особое совещание. So it's not even a court, it's a special meeting. And the punishment, according to the Article 121, to be set as 3 years of, I'm not sure what it is, she got labor camps. So this is what the procureur, the guy who makes the decision, that concluded on this case, 3 years of labor camps. Let's see, this has a second page yet. All right, so we continue page 42. So that's still description of her, that she, not a party member, originally from the poor peasants, 9-year education. She wasn't got in trouble with law before. Single, She worked as a laboratory helper in the lab of the main hospital of Northern Baltic Fleet and lived in Tallinn. So she is being a secret agent of the state security. She went on the way of double handling, so she was working on both ways. Purposely decipher herself in front of people that were doing anti-Soviet activity, telling them about what kind of things she's supposed to do, which means that's the crimes according to the Article 121 of Criminal Case of Russian Federation. Consider investigation is completed, and all the materials that they found enough to take it to the judge or court, according to Article 208, once again of Russian Federation. This case of 9902 to be sent to the military. I don't know how to translate the word procuror. So this is the main guy. So she is going through actually it's troops of the police department. She's not going through like regular court. It's a military procuror. And says, I would suggest punishment for Kulikova 5 years of исправительно-трудовые работы. So it's another, so it's you're gonna be better by working. So you will get fixed. Исправиться, you will get better by hard labor. So it's исправительная трудовая работа. And we had so-called ETL, исправительно-трудовые лагеря. So it's the labor fixing camps. So they recommended 5 years, but in the end she got only 3 years. And it's signed by Nikolaev, senior lieutenant, another senior lieutenant, Ryan Rub, agreed by Major Jakobson. One of my subscribers, actually, there's a Wikipedia page for Jakobson. I will post it in the comment section below this video. He was a bad guy. And he managed to live all the way to the 90s. And then they have a little note here that she was arrested on May 12th and she was in prison number 1 since then. She doesn't have any, they don't have any physical evidence in this case. And all the personal documents attached in a separate package, and it's signed again by Nikolaev. All right, so we are almost there, my goodness. So there's another spravka, it's page 43. So according to her, what's the word, показания, so whatever she mentioned during this investigation with Kulikova Antonina, so based on her information, as the members of underground anti-Soviet organization Union in Christ, Valguste Yuhan Yanovich, can read the last name here. So there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people were arrested and also привлечены к уголовной ответственности. So this is the case number 9900. So we have another 5 people. Based on her information, they arrested them. And once again, it's signed by another guy. So as I said, this, if you don't report, you also get in trouble. And we have another spravka, another side note, that the personal documents of Kulikova, her passport was remained in Department A of MGB of Estonia. Sign here. So this is actually an envelope, but it's empty. There's nothing in there. So I'm not sure what used to be there. And I've seen, okay, I have to take it apart again. Can flip the page really well. Okay, so if you research anything on the topic of Gulag or Stalin era people being arrested, this is a lot of this similar forms. You'll see this is standard Выписка из протокола, number 35. Особого совещания при министре государственной безопасности Союза СССР. So, this is like a special совещание, so there's like a meeting. So it's not really a court when you have a lawyer, it's just, sometimes just three guys, they make decision about your fate. And this is like their decision in short form, what they decided on. So they listen to, so слушали, and it happened on August 28. So that was a number 192, case number 9902 of MGB of Estonia for Kulikova Antonina, and that was convicted on Article 121 of criminal case of Russian Federation, and they made decision. So Kulikova Antonina for telling other people secrets that she's not supposed to tell, to lock her up in a исправительно-трудовой лагерь. So there you go. So this labor camp that's supposed to fix you, исправить, for 3 years, and you start counting the term from the May 12, 1948, when she was arrested. So that's the pretty much the final document, the ending of this investigation. And here's the ink stamp of the особое совещание, special meeting. So no courts, no lawyers. It's just special meeting of several people that will decide what you're gonna do for next 5 to 10 years. There also was this little envelope that says пакет для председателя особенного совещания. So it's like a packet or package for the chairman of the special meeting. And it's supposed to have inside, looks like характеристика на 2 листах. So it's her almost like a personal file that, you know, that's when you write about yourself, like, you know, when I was born, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, there's nothing inside, unfortunately. But it was also sealed. So that's also there, but it's empty. This file also contained this interesting document. So this is a more modern days. It's actually, I believe, from like 1989. So it says request. So Kulikova Antonina Petrovna, and it's her address. It's all information we knew. And this is request to verify. So she needs a document, or someone of her relatives needs a document об освобождении. So they need to have a document confirming that she was freed from the camp. There's no more additional information. It's just, so this is what relatives could request if they don't know what happened, or maybe she's trying to get a job or something else. But this is look like the date is 1989. I'm not sure, but it says what happened. The result is the check, and there's no information about освобождение or death. So there's no, they couldn't locate information about her leaving the camp after her 3 years, or any documents about her death at camp. So unfortunately, we don't know anything. And I was trying to Google her name, and there's nothing came up ever. Yeah, it looks like 1989 October. So someone requested information about her, maybe some of her relatives, but there was no confirmation. They neither can confirm that she survived the camp, or neither can confirm that she died. Okay, my friends, so this concludes our review of the criminal case for Kulikova Antonina, who ended up going to a labor camp that's supposed to make her a better person for 3 years, and unfortunately we have no idea what happened to her. Most likely she perished. And so we're gonna take a break after this video, because I have more files, of course, to go through. I purchased like 5 of them, so there's more cases, most of them from Estonia once again. But for right now, we're just gonna
go back to the stories about life in the Soviet Union, and maybe in a month or so we'll start working to the next case. Thank you so much for watching Ushanka Show. We'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye.